bitch. I said, wake up, bitch. Wake up. I said, wake up, bitch. Wake up.
No. No. This isn't real. This isn't happening to me.
I said, wake up, bitch.
No.
Wake up.
No, please. Please let me go. No, don't do this to me. No, please let me go.
Yes. This is what you want. And I'm gonna give it to you. I'm gonna give you your heartfelt wish. I'm gonna fuck you, you bitch. I said, wake up, bitch. Wake up.
Yes, y'all, it's going down right now. Episode 176 of the 22 Shots of Moods and Horror podcast is coming at you live. I am your host, the Tromaville Community College graduate, the toxic offender, superhero, aka Moods. Yeah. And of course, I have my hetero gay life mate, the Mexican. Get me the fucking thumbnail on time anymore. Double Late J, aka JP. What's going on, man?
Yo, dude, we haven't done just me and you in like forever. I don't even remember the last time we did just me and you.
You know, I was actually thinking about that before the show, and I didn't even conclude the answer. I have no idea. I mean, we've literally had a guest on almost every show for at least a year running, so this is very strange. So, but it's just the two of us. Again, I always have to do that when we do it. It doesn't happen very often, but I honestly cannot remember last time that we had no guests. I don't even know what happened here. I think originally, because this week we were supposed to be doing the top 10 of the decade, ranking the years show, and really nobody wanted to jump on with us at all.
Yeah.
And apparently people don't want to do that show. So I'm like, that's cool. So then we changed it to this show, and then still nobody wanted to guest host, maybe because of the quality of featured reviews. I have no idea, but just nobody jumped up, and I'm like, all right, whatever. I guess it's just going to be the two of us.
I feel like we probably just burnt everybody out.
Probably. I mean, it is a combination of what time we record at, and maybe a combination of the films and
length. Nobody else's show, like all our guests that we've had on, their shows are 3 hours max usually. So. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're probably not used to going 5-6 hours.
I'm still having a hard time figuring out why the hell these shows are so damn long all the time. It's funny because it seems like we're doing less segments, but they just seem to be going longer, like 2-hour Q&As with Watson and shit. Like, it's funny. We intend to have shorter shows, and then they end up being longer in the long run. It's very strange.
Yeah, it is strange.
Right? Like, that Watson thing was just bizarre to me, but... Yeah, man. So what's going on, man? What's going on?
It's been a pretty busy week. Like you mentioned, I didn't get the thumbnail to you on time. I started that one. I was like, man, I wasn't finding the images that I wanted. Even at the end of it, I wasn't very happy with that one. It happens sometimes, but I eventually finished it up. Me and Carly's been recording our show too, our new show, and that one's kind of weekly, so we do that usually every like Monday or Tuesday. It's actually only usually an hour, but the last show we did ended up being like 3 hours and took up my whole entire day, the day that I normally would do the thumbnail. That one, our latest episode, we actually did no featured review or anything. The main topic was all the movies that we've seen in the theater drive-in that are retro films, so stuff from the 80s, 90s, 70s, 60s, 50s, anything that's not
you mean all the exclusive 80s films, apparently, according to some people on Facebook groups.
Yeah, dude, that guy, I was like, what the hell is this guy talking about? I was so confused. But yeah, we have when we did our total, it was 98.
Wow.
We've seen 98. So we went through the entire history from 2013 on and talked about each of the films that we've seen and gave backstory to us seeing them and stuff. It was pretty cool. It was something different, but it turned into a pretty decent episode.
That's cool. So you guys record on Mondays and Tuesdays and stuff? I am.
Yeah, usually Mondays, Tuesdays, sometimes Wednesdays. We usually like to have the show out in the middle of the week, so like Wednesday or Thursday.
Well, since we're talking about the show, you might as well just do a shameless plug and actually say the title of the actual show.
Yeah. It's His and Hers Movie Podcast, or HHMP.
So I've been asked actually a couple times about this, and I don't know why people keep asking me, because I don't have the answer to this, but is this like the new Netflix and chill? Or are you guys going to continue to do that, or are you just because Netflix sucks?
Well, Netflix and chill was just really a name for just anything streaming. If you actually look at our catalog, it's mostly Shudder exclusives.
Yeah,
that's mostly what we did.
I noticed
but,
that. Yeah.
No, Netflix and chill isn't completely dead. This is our primary focus right now, and it's typically new theatrical films. But if we
so it's your guys' version of Fresh Cuts,
basically. But the difference is if there's not a theatrical film like this past week, we'll do something else. So it's not exactly like Fresh Cuts, because we might do an older film or something that's not a film at all, like we did this week. And so we kind of mainly do theatrical stuff, because the reason why is because we just see all of them. Like anything that comes out, we see. So we don't really talk about them so much on this show on 22 Shots. So I was like, where could I, do those? And it didn't really fit with Netflix and chill. And I like going on Fresh Cuts, but I'm not always available when they're doing it. So it kind of worked out perfect. I didn't want to do content. I don't want like repeating content. So if I like do something on here, I don't really want to do it on there, and vice versa. So I figured, well, we don't really do a lot of the theatrical films on here, so I see them anyway.
There's no room to do brand new theatricals. I mean, we never really were that podcast that did current stuff besides news, but reviewing current films wasn't really our thing. I mean, we did like It and things like that, but that was never really a focus of the show. And especially now with Patreon more or less controlling our featured reviews and stuff, we don't really do that. And I'm cool with that, actually. I like to do more retro stuff anyways. So
yeah, me too. And not to mention that you don't get a lot of the films. You probably get less than half of what we get.
It was actually kind of a defining factor in why we never did a lot of theatrical films in the early days of the show, because of that reason. It would be different if I lived, where I used to in Vancouver, because, you got 100 different cinemas, and they literally have like the best. They have cinemas that are exclusive for like indie films and like the circuit films. It's crazy. It's amazing down there. You can catch anything. But where I am, 8 hours north, with one theater or one cinema with like 6 screens, it's mostly kids movies, man.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy how many actual theaters we have within an hour radius of us. Like we have the local one to my town, which is kind of the weakest one, and they don't get a lot. If it's like a big horror movie, they'll get it, but if it's like one of the like small, like the last 2 haven't been actually this past one, The Turning, which just came out, that wasn't there, and then The Grudge wasn't there, but they did get Underwater. But then we have another theater that's a really good theater and gets like everything. That's like an hour, like 50 minutes away. And then there's another theater that's like an hour away that is in the opposite direction that pretty much gets the same thing. So we don't really go to that one too often unless we're going to that area for something. And then we also have like a drive-in in my hometown, like 15 minutes away from where I live. We have we just went to a theater that we never been to that is an hour in like the other direction. And that one, we went to just to try something new, and it was all right. But again, like all these theaters also have things around them, like malls or something like that. So that's a reason why we might do a different one. But yeah, and then like when you go into Pittsburgh, there's like 4 or 5 theaters, but the one that we used to love called the Hollywood, it was purchased like 2 years ago and pretty much was turned into a second run theater. So like they used to play all kind of retro stuff. Like that's where I saw Phantasm and like all these, like the John Carpenter Fest that they did where they showed 4 Carpenter films. That is all done and gone, and it's absolutely like I don't know what the hell they did to that place, but somebody bought it, and it was a non-profit theater. It's been around since like 1920, and they just turned it into a second-run theater. So like, you know, they'll get like they'll play Star Wars for like 4 weeks after it's like you know pretty much done. It's just so silly. I don't even know how they like do like I can't imagine people actually go to these.
Yeah, really.
But yeah, that's unfortunate. But yeah, I never really realized it when I was younger, but we have like quite the options in here. And then, you know, even the others, like that drive-in I showed you the lineup for, that is only an hour away, like an hour and 10 minutes or something. So, you know, that's another drive-in, but they do that retro stuff every once in a while, which is cool. But yeah, Pennsylvania is actually quite a good state for cinema, actually. I'd never really realized it, but it is.
It's such a big area for like horror fans and stuff too. I mean, you know, when I go, you know, Cinema Wastelands, there's so many people from that area, you know, that are there and stuff. A lot of filmmakers come from there. I mean, obviously Romero and things like that. But it's a very cultish type area. It seems like I always see people that are from that kind of area, and I'm like, that's so interesting because out in the West, like it's just such a different culture. Like they just don't have that type of culture out here. That's probably why there isn't like a lot of, you know, like horror festivals and, you know, horror cons and all that type of shit out here. And they're mostly where you are in the Midwest, kind of East Coast type thing, right?
Yeah, and also like we have like 15 minutes from where I work, we have the Tom Savini Makeup Effects School,
exactly,
and the George Romero Film School. So like that's actually brought in a ton more. Plus, you know, we have the whole zombie thing and the Romero stuff, as well as the Toe Tag dudes from Pittsburgh. The guy that made The Barn is from Pittsburgh area. So yeah, I mean we and honestly, like Pittsburgh is a decent film town too. I actually just saw a trailer for this new Netflix show that filmed like literally 2 minutes down the street from Carly's house. In fact, they were actually filming on her street one day, and she couldn't get into her driveway. But yeah, they just shot another Netflix thing here over the, you know, around December. So it's actually crazy because it's such a small town that we've gotten so much films shot here in the past like 5-10 years.
It's probably cheap to film there.
I don't think it costs anything.
Well, you got to get film permits, right? And
yeah, but I
certain places are just more
charge
expensive
for anything here. It's like we're just happy to have you type thing.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But
yeah, I miss the days of cinema. Like it drives me nuts every time I think about it, because when I hear that there's going to be a film at the cinema, and you know, or that's coming theatrical, horror film coming theatrical, and I just kind of every time I doubt we're getting it here. You know, I miss.
Did you get any of the past 3? Like, did you get Grudge, Underwater, or The Turning?
I believe we got them. I'm not sure about The Turning.
That's this week's one.
Yeah, no, then we definitely did not get that. Well, we might get it next week, but we did get. I mean, going back to Black Christmas, I think we got that. We got The Grudge, Underwater. I believe that we got also. I'm not 100% sure on that, but we usually get them like a week after. Sometimes they open like when they're supposed to, but you know, it depends what's out at the time though too, right? I mean, if there's a bunch of popular kids movies or, you know, PG-13 live action type films and shit, the cinema will be playing those.
Yeah.
But
we actually good.
I miss the good old days. Like, you know, growing up here, like we have the one cinema here now, but I mean, back in the day, I've told before, but we used to have like, you know, 3 or 4, but there was the one place I used to go to a lot, and they used to get more of like the cult films and stuff. Like that's where I seen, you know, Hellraiser 3 and stuff. Like they would get those type of films there, and then you go to the other cinema to get more of like the more Hollywood blockbusters, and you go to the other one to get these type of runs. And it was kind of cool because, you know, if you saw a trailer for a film, you kind of knew where it was going to play in town, right? You just knew right away. The horror films played over here at the Scuzz Bucket place, like down on George Street with the hookers and the fucking heroin addicts, right? So, but that you just knew it was cool. But I miss those days because now I'm just like, I doubt we're getting that at all.
Yeah, and you're definitely not getting like the art house stuff. Like we got
no, man.
Climax. Like when we like Climax was one of my favorite theatrical experiences.
It's too redneck here, man. Those movies would never sell. Like, you say if, the Lighthouse House had like a wider, bigger, whatever, there's no way that would be coming here. It's too artsy. There's just no fucking way.
That's another one we got, the Lighthouse. Yeah. And then our retro, is pretty healthy too. Like in February, we just saw Misery this month. And then next month we have My Bloody Valentine, which I'm so excited for because I didn't think I would ever get a chance to see that in the theater. And then also the original Invisible Man. So that's pretty cool.
Did you say you saw My Bloody Valentine? No,
it's next month.
Are you getting the new transfer of it too?
Yeah, I think they're actually showing the new transfer.
Man, that's cool, man. That's really cool.
Yeah, I'm actually very excited for that. That's something that I didn't think I would get a chance to see. And then obviously the April drive-in that I've been going to since like 2013 or something, they announced their full lineup, which is honestly like a pretty fun lineup. Like the first night is like I think it's like From the Deep themed, and then the second night is a more like 80s stuff.
Mm-hmm. So
the second night you have Slumber Party Massacre, which is a cool title to see, and then Silent Night Deadly Night, which is that's like probably the one I'm most excited for.
It's still a weird fucking title to put on that bill though, even though it is like, that standout kind of 80s cult film and stuff, but the time of year,
they've actually done that in the past. They shown Black Christmas like 2 years ago.
it's practically fucking, going into springtime and shit, and it's like, no, let's just drop some Silent Night Deadly Night. Everyone's just getting over their snow and shit's warming up, and it just seems weird to me. It just seems fucking weird, right?
No, it definitely is weird, but I'll tell you what, like it's usually like damn still cold in April, so
yeah.
And sometimes we even still have snow in April. But
that's the most fucked up thing. Like, here it's always hit and miss. But like last week, we were having this crazy extreme fucking weather here. Like we were breaking records. It was minus fucking 44, and even if you're a Canadian listener and American listener, at that point, it doesn't matter if you're Celsius or Fahrenheit. It's minus fucking 44, right? Because at minus 40, we're the same, and it was minus 44. It was fucking crazy. Within 4 days later, it was plus 7 here, which is, I don't know, probably 40 degrees or something. I don't know. But yeah,
that's crazy.
But ever since we had 7 days of extreme weather between minus 30 and minus 45 kind of thing. Ever since it got, warm again, it's been spring here. Like it's still fucking January. This is generally the coldest part of the year, but it's straight up spring. Like it's melting. We have like everything's going. It's fucking weird weather, dude. So I think that spring hit us like in January because I don't know. We might still get a bit, but the forecast is like warm shit, dude. This is crazy, but I don't know. I think spring is hitting us real early this year. I'm super excited about that. I hate winter.
Yeah, that's good. And it's actually been pretty, like lukewarm here with winter. We've had a few really cold days, but not much snow. We've only had like 1 or 2 snow like accumulations, pretty much, like little tiny ones here and there. But like it's actually one of the least snowy winters I've dealt with in the past like 10 years, probably, or 15 maybe. Mm-hmm. But yeah. So Slumber Party Massacre, Silent Night, Deadly Night, Chopping Mall is the third title on the second night, and then Spookies. Spookies actually replaced. Originally they were doing Deadly Friend, but apparently the print was like really badly damaged from the studio, and they said that they couldn't send it. So maybe that's.
But that famous basketball head explosion scene would have been amazing on the big screen. But I mean, whatever. I actually just rewatched Spookies again, the Vinegar Syndrome release of it, and it's actually mind fucking blowing that they can turn trashy cinema into fucking gold nuggets, man.
That's like
The transfer is phenomenal on that Blu-ray. I'm just like, this is fucking crazy watching this. It sounds so
insane,
good.
Dude.
Like, it really is mind-blowing, dude. And it makes the movie so much more enjoyable. It's one of the most bizarre movies ever made because of, if you listen, like the production history is just, it's hilarious what happened with that movie. But it's just, if you can accept it for being as bad as it is, it's so much fun. It's fart monsters in it, man. Come on.
Yeah.
But
I just watched Amityville 4, and that transfer is ridiculous too.
I actually popped that in the other day and never even pressed play. I got stuck doing something on the computer, and then I just didn't feel like watching it. So I took it out of the Blu-ray play. I had it on the menu on repeat for like 45 minutes, and I was like, I don't feel like watching this.
That movie is actually like way better than it deserves to be.
It's a TV movie, right? It was made for television, right?
I think I don't know. I don't know. Like I thought it was, but I don't know if this version is or not, because it seems like more violent than what I would expect. Like, but maybe, I don't know. Like my favorite scene in that whole movie is when the kid is like messing with the chainsaw in the basement, and it like turns on, and it just like starts going crazy, like cutting up everything in the basement, and the parents come down there like, what are you doing,
dude? I can't remember it, man. I'd have to go back and revisit. I honestly, I haven't even dug into that box set yet. I haven't watched any of the 4 films, so yeah.
I actually there's only one in that box set I haven't seen, but the 3 that I have seen, I actually like them all. I think they're all better than part 3, actually.
I've seen them all. I actually watched, I think the New Generation one. I'd picked up the DVD years ago when I was at Jeremy's place, and we watched it, and that movie is just fucking horrible, man. It's so bad.
That's the only one I haven't seen.
It's bad. It's bad. Who knows, man? Maybe the transfer will like bring it up a 0.5 for me or some shit, but I don't know, man. I don't mind some of the Amityville sequels. They're all right. They're not as bad as watching fucking Howling sequels or some shit.
Yeah. And then the first night is Piranha, the 70s version.
That's awesome.
Which I haven't seen in probably over a decade. Humanoids from the Deep, which I've never seen.
Oh man, the rapey fucking sea monsters, man. I love that movie, dude. I rewatched that just not too long ago when Scream Factory put up the Steelbook. I popped in it, and by the way, that transfer is like ridiculous. It looks so good. And yeah, it's such a stupid fun movie, man. It's literally creatures coming out the water raping women. It's fucking
sounds awesome.
It's amazing.
Tentacles is the 3rd title,
which is fun. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the final title is actually one that I'm super stoked on if I could stay awake that long. And that is The Legend of Boggy Creek.
You know, it's funny. I was just talking about that movie. Well, I think Sam brought it up, actually. He said, like, whoever was doing that new transfer on it and stuff, put it up on the website, and there's a price point on it. I think it's like $30.
Yeah, but his daughter.
Yeah.
Charles B. Pierce's daughter.
Okay, so they have it like they're doing like this whole indie thing or whatever. And even for the shipping for folks in the US was like $7. So it was going to cost like $36.99 American or something like that. And even Dave was like, Mr. Parker was like, fuck that. I'm not paying $37 for Boggy Creek kind of thing. And I'm like, that price point is absolutely ludicrous. Like for me, it would be like $65. And like, obviously I'm not fucking paying that. But even for American, like $36 for Boggy Creek is nuts.
Yeah, nuts. I thought it was going to be like, when they were talking about it, I thought it was actually going to be a 4K release. I would have paid probably that for a 4K release of it, but I'm not paying that. So it was just a 4K
transfer done on a Blu-ray?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is ridiculous. I love Boggy Creek. It actually made my top 10 of 72. And that transfer looks ridiculous. Like, because if you have the Cheesy Flicks version,
which most people actually do, because that shit is bad, man. It's real bad.
Yeah, that shit is bad. And I was looking forward to the transfer. Hopefully it gets to like Amazon and other retailers eventually, because then I know the price will go down. So
yeah, exactly.
That's what I'm hoping for.
That transfer on the Cheesy Flicks DVD looks like they taped over, like it was taken from a really bad VHS that had been watched 100 times, and then it looks like they taped over like on a long play tape that had been recorded on 60 times. and then just
100.
put that. It did, man. It just looks so fucked up. I was like, this doesn't even make sense to me. Like, why would they, but Cheesy Flicks is more or less like a gray market company though too, right?
Yeah, I don't even think they're still in business.
Well, they did get sued a while ago because they put out something that somebody tripped balls about and actually sued
I think
them.
it was VCI or something. I think they put out something that VCI owned.
Yeah, or something like that. And then someone tripped balls and then was like, hey guys, you owe us some fucking money. And obviously it's Cheesy Flicks. They don't have any fucking money. So I guess they probably just folded. But oh man, it's funny. Actually, I got a couple Cheesy Flick shirts. The wife actually she still wears her Cheesy Flick shirt around the house when she's doing like housework and shit. It's hilarious. So, but anyways, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, other than that, been watching a lot of films. I kind of been doing this thing where like I mentioned it on the last show, but I just been watching stuff in my collection besides like the reviews for the show and stuff. I've just been watching things in my collection that I hadn't seen before, or like not that I hadn't seen before, but that I bought and never watched. So like even stuff like Fright Night, the 2011 version. I've seen it before, but I bought it on Blu-ray used and just never watched it. So I revisited that and like, ton. I'm actually doing pretty well. I think I've watched like 20 unwatched titles so far. And last year I would probably say that like my entire year I'd only seen maybe like 40 of my unwatched titles. So I'm already, 1 month in doing better than doing half as good as I did last year, which, I was looking at my collection, dude. It's literally hundreds of titles unwatched, and I was just like, this is ridiculous. Like, I got to start watching some of these. So that's been my like goal this entire year.
That's crazy. You got that many, man. I've been doing the same thing. I've been going to some rewatches and stuff, but I actually had this really strange moment the other day because I went to go grab the Dead Ringers Blu-ray, and then, like, as I was thinking, like, as I was going to grab it, I was like, wait a minute. I never fucking upgraded that. I still only have that on DVD. Because I was in this David Cronenberg, obviously, in this mode, and I was like, I feel like rewatching Dead Ringers now because, I can't. I just have the time to do it and stuff. So I was like, fuck, man. And I'm like, well, shit, I'll see how much it is on Amazon. And I got it for, like, $20. Right, on Prime, and I was like, oh sweet, dude, that's a great deal. I'm like, it's not gonna have a slip, whatever, fuck it comes with the slip cover. I was like, what the fuck.
Wow.
So
yeah,
because it's been out for like 3-4 years, and I'm like, damn. So I ended up watching it again. I'm like, that movie's fucked, man. It's just fucked. But like, I've been doing the same thing. I've been going in, some of the Vinegar Syndrome titles I hadn't checked out yet and stuff, and I've been watching those and just kind of really mixing it up, man. I watched like the sequel to Goon, like the hockey enforcer movie and shit. I've been watching random fucking things, man. But I
love Goon.
Popped in Nightbreed the other night. I hadn't watched it. I hadn't watched that Scream Factory special edition since it came out, and
yeah, that's what you said. You were watching. You were about to watch Nightbreed. I was like, oh.
And I finally watched the 2020 film from this year. I've watched one. At this point last year, I'd already probably watched like 15, but I did watch The Color Out of Space. The new Richard Stanley.
Was it
film.
good? Everybody's been talking good about it.
I liked it. Yeah, it's good. I mean, if you know the H.P. Lovecraft story, it was adapted in the movie called The Curse. Scream Factory put out The Curse 1 and 2. Have you ever seen The Curse before?
Nope.
Oh, you never seen The Curse? Anyways,
I own them, but I haven't seen them.
That movie is based off the H.P. Lovecraft story, which is called Color Out of Space. This is more or less, it's like a very, very much updated, a little bit more effects, like, because I think The Curse came out in the early 90s, I believe. It was good. Nick Cage, there was a couple moments in that film that just completely had me in fucking tears, man, because Nick Cage pulled some Nick Cage out, and he has this one scene where he just loses his shit inside a car, and I was fucking laughing. I'm just thinking Vampire's Kiss the whole time, right? But there was some legitimately funny ass moments in it, but I think the third act kind of lost me a little bit. I was kind of getting... it was losing me with the amount of like special effects and things that were going on. I don't know. I thought the color scheme in the film was like really cool and stuff, but it felt like it was overdoing it for me. And at points I was just like losing interest in it and stuff, but it was still really solid. I gave it like a 7.5 out of 10, but I know people are like really, really digging the shit out of it. But actually one of the very first things I heard about the movie was Nick Cage was fucking horrible. He was horrible. And I'm like, but I mean, if you don't like Nick Cage, like you're probably not going to like him in much things because he's kind of Nick Cage in a lot of things, He does overacting in certain scenes and he's weird in other scenes and shit. And you get exactly what you expect with Nick Cage in this movie. And I thought it was kind of entertaining. He was definitely the most entertaining part of the film for me. besides Tommy Chong. Tommy Chong's character was fucking awesome in this movie. He plays this like out fucking spacey character type thing out in the woods and stuff. His character was awesome, and fuck man, Tommy Chong's just Tommy Chong. But I can see why people are liking this, and I'd put money on it right now that you're gonna see Color Out of Space on top 10 lists this year. 100%.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
I'm actually 0 for 3 with 2020 movies.
Wow.
Yeah, so.
What have you seen?
0 for 3.
Underwater? What else do you see?
The Grudge.
Oh yeah, The Grudge.
and The Turning.
Oh, all the theatricals. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Haven't ventured past that. You know,
Isn't The Turning just like an updated version of the Innocence or something like that?
Yeah, Carly said it's not that similar though, because she just watched The Innocence. I've never seen The Innocence, so.
Oh, it's classic material. It's an amazing film. It's really good.
Yeah. But yeah, pretty busy, like long week. But other than that, I haven't been up to too much.
Yeah, I've been just doing what I do, watch films and shit, man. I'm just looking at my entries for January. What is it, January 24th today? 24th, and I've watched 65 movies already this month. God damn. That is fucking ridiculous. So
yeah, that's pretty crazy. I'm at 35, which is really good for me. Like that's like record-breaking pace again for me, but I'm not keeping that up. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah, it's just the way things have been working out this month. Like, you know, 8:30 hits and I've just been able to fit in films, you know, because I don't watch films during the day. Like Fridays I never watch movies because, you know, we record once, you know, I usually start watching movies, right? 8 o'clock at night is when I start. So yeah, I have missed days and shit. It's crazy. Like I don't even know how the fuck I watch so many damn movies already. This is crazy. But yeah, 65 movies, goddamn. But did you get a chance to check out any of the skills comp? NHL skills comp today?
No, I didn't.
I gotta say, man, I'm usually not a big fan of watching the All-Star Week. Maybe sometimes the All-Star games, they're kind of fun. Now with the 3-on-3 formats, I think it's kind of interesting, but with the kind of tournament style type thing they got going. But I usually don't watch the skills comp because it kind of loses me. I'm just like, eh. But this year they actually changed a couple of the skills up and stuff, and then they actually had the women's all-stars come and play a game in the middle of the skills comp, and it was fucking phenomenal, man. Like they're so cool. It was Canada versus US. Canada won 2-1,
of course.
but no, the US is really, really good. But like the Canadian, oh my god! But the goaltending by the Canadian goalie was just like ridiculous. It was fucking ridiculous, man. And of course it's 3-on-3 and it's so entertaining. It's just nonstop and shit. But yeah, it was probably one of the first years I ever kind of finished watching the skills comp and went, wow, that was really entertaining.
I've actually never watched it.
Yeah, I usually just kind of like, whatever. If I catch the game, I catch a game, you know, and then they kind of, like I said, they changed it to 2 formats where it's like 4 teams. They have 2 mini games kind of thing, right?
Yeah, so. I've actually never watched the Pro Bowl either. Like once in my life. For as big of a football fan as I am, I've never watched the Pro Bowl. I
have here and there. I don't make a point of actually going out of my way to watch it, but yeah, it's kind of like the All-Star game. It is what it is, man. I mean, honestly, if you're not really that deep into watching, just watch the fucking highlights.
Yeah, that's kind of, I do watch the highlights often, but yeah, I've been like real heavy into hockey since the NFL season.
Well, I can't get over that fucking Crosby was gone for like 6 weeks or something like that, and the fucking Penguins kept winning without him. I was like, this is ridiculous.
It was insane. Like we were on a hell of a run. Like we were winning like crazy games. I believe I read they were talking about how we had 3 games this year where we've come back from 0-3 or, you know, down by at least 3 points, which we're the only team this year that's done that. It's pretty cool. But yeah, that like we kept winning and winning and winning. Like December we killed it. We were like, in terms of our record, I forget exactly what it was. And then we like I feel like, you know, just looking at the points and stuff like that, we were, I think, down in like 5th place or something. Now we're like 2nd. We were kind of chasing the Capitals. We did lose to the Flyers the other night, but yeah, just like we were just playing like crazy good hockey for a while there. Still pretty hot. We just beat the Bruins the other night too. It was a good game.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy, man. You know, without Crosby and stuff. And then he comes back and then just fucking tears it up. Like,
I know.
ridiculous tearing it up. I'm like, man, that guy never misses a beat, man. He can be out for 6 weeks and just like he wasn't out for 2 days, kind of thing. It's crazy, man. It's absolutely crazy. But yeah, the Pens goalie, not Matt Murray, but the other guy, he was actually in the All-Star game. He's one of the goalies that got picked. I think Matt Murray might
Jari.
be. Yeah, Jari. I always forget the guy's fucking name, but yeah,
he's been playing very well. Matt Murray's actually not been playing the greatest, but
no.
Jari's been playing great.
Yeah, really, really good. Enough to make an All-Star team. That's crazy. The competition is so fucking hard in the NHL right now, to make that and shit. So, but yeah, that's pretty crazy shit. But yeah, I was really, really like, wow, those women, man, because. And they got their exposure last year when the girl, what's her name? What the fuck? I can't remember. But she was like, she beat like the fastest skating time, right? A woman had the fucking faster time than Connor McDavid, which is insane. So that kind of sparked that. And plus, they've been trying to get their professional league going and stuff. And they're thinking within the next year or two, because it's been happening for years. And
that'd be cool. That'd be cool.
So they're going to have the WNHL, which is amazing to me that it hasn't been a thing yet, because women's hockey's come so far in the last 15-20 years. It's crazy. There's so many fucking awesome players, like legitimately amazing women hockey players.
I've never seen women play hockey.
Oh, honestly. It's such a big thing in Canada, right? Because with the Olympics and the women's hockey, obviously hockey is just, it's a religion here. It's literally insane here, right? So dude, we get a lot of exposure to it, and the women, it's just fucking bananas, dude. It's crazy. But the Americans are very, very close behind us and stuff. And it's funny because the Americans have a lot of like Phil Kessel's sister plays on the American team, and Tony Coronado, I think his sister is like the coach, and she used to be a really great ex-player and stuff. Yeah, and it's kind of funny that all these family members, the female family members, are playing like professional hockey now and stuff, because it runs in the family kind of thing, right? So yeah.
The thing about my favorite sport is MMA, which is its own separate breed because it's not a team sport. Yeah. But my favorite team sport is football, but man, hockey rivals it sometimes. Like those 2 cup runs, 16 and 17 that we had, like I never had any experience in sports where I had that many heart attacks in that like amount of time, because like the playoffs are so damn long, and we're going to game 7s and stuff, and I'm just like overtimes and things. It's just like, it really is an exhilarating, exciting, like hockey playoffs are probably the best playoffs in sports, in my opinion.
It's crazy when you think about it too, because the hockey playoffs is like a whole separate season. It's literally 2 months.
Dude, it takes so long, but I love it. Even when my team goes out, like I'm still heavily interested in like what's going on. Like dude, remember last year the San Jose and Vegas Knights game? Yeah. One of the craziest things I ever seen in my life. Like that was nuts.
Honestly, you'll never see something like that ever again. That was like one of the strangest thing ever to happen in a game. That's just bizarre, but NHL, like like you said, even when your team goes out of the playoffs, if they go out or whatever, it's still exciting to watch because the hockey is so good. It's so amazing.
Playoff hockey is just,
and especially
so
now,
exciting.
The new NHL is, it's so different. It's so different from what it was even 15 years ago. Removing the red line, and the way the game is so fast paced now. It's a totally different game than it was in the 80s and 90s and stuff. And it's so much more exciting. But the playoff hockey is even faster. You look at regular season play and you're like, man, it's pretty fast. And then playoffs is like twice as fast. It's fucking crazy, man. It's just phenomenal to watch. But if you weren't a fan of the game and you go out of your way to watch this type of games, you would have never seen that shit with San Jose and Vegas, right? Like watching that shit was like, what the fuck is happening right now? This is crazy. But like,
oh dude, and I was so bummed because I Penguins were out of it. Like Vegas Knights is I love Fleury. He's one of my favorite players, so I cheer for him, and it was just like, oh man, that was brutal to watch. But I can't imagine Vegas Knights fans. They were probably going out of their mind.
Absolutely, man. That shit'll just never be duplicated, man. Just absolutely not. It's crazy, but yeah, fuck, it's going to be an interesting run this year, man. It's even hard to make it in the playoffs, but
yeah,
we'll see. We'll see what happens. Look with St. Louis last year. January, they were the worst team in the NHL, and then decided that they're going to just win every game out and win the Stanley Cup kind of thing.
Yeah.
And combined with the new season in 2019-20. In the calendar year in 2019, they won like way more games than anybody. It's fucking crazy, like how that team just went from bottom barrel to like
strange.
Literally the best. Like in hockey, that's unheard of. Once you're a bad team to start a season, you never recover. Especially in this day and age in NHL, like what St. Louis accomplished is truly amazing. Because this league is so hard. Even teams like Jeremy's always like, oh, the Blackhawks suck. You know, they suck. But they don't. Their team is actually really good. There's just better teams, right? They're in a rebuild and they're still winning games. Like they just won 5-6 in a row. And
I saw they were catching up on the standings.
Well, you look at it like you're sitting 26th in the NHL out of 31 teams, but you're only like 6 points out of a playoff spot. That's how tight the NHL is. It's fucking crazy. It's ridiculous, man. A win and a loss can be your whole season. So. But yeah, there's of course our sports talk for the episode.
I'm sure people love that. Super Bowl pick. Who's your Super Bowl pick?
Super Bowl pick, man. I don't know, man. I don't know. Who you picking?
I'm gonna go with Kansas City, honestly. I think that, you know, their 2 playoff games where they were down. Wow, dude, that game where they were down to the Texans or the was it the Texans? Who was it that they were down?
Texans.
24-0.
Yeah, 24-0 Texans.
And by halftime they were winning.
The Titans. They were down to the Titans.
Was it the Titans?
Yeah, not Texans.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, that's insane. You know, down 24-0 and then by halftime winning.
You know, it doesn't surprise me. I mean, Mahomes he's done this a lot, actually. They get down because Kansas City's defense kind of is a weak point for them, so they'll get down if they don't score on their possessions, and all of a sudden, maybe not 24 points down. That's kind of an extreme.
It was Houston.
Was it Houston?
It was Houston.
It wasn't.
Yeah, and then they faced the Titans and were down like 10.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. You're right.
The next week.
You're right. But you know, they've made a life of this, and it didn't really surprise me that they came back and stuff. But this is a pretty decent Super Bowl matchup, actually. 49ers, Chiefs. I mean,
it's new. It's new, man. Like this is the future of the NFL right now. Like, you know, they said that this is the first time in forever that quarterback not named, you know, Brady, Manning, Roethlisberger, or one other person wasn't involved in the Breeze or something, wasn't involved in a Super Bowl in like a long time. So yeah, it's kind of crazy. Two younger dudes.
It is though, man. It really is, because I mean, I don't know what's happening with Brady, if he's going to be in New England next year and stuff. Sources say he's going to be in fucking San Diego.
I'm gonna go on a limb here and say he'll be back in New England.
I mean, I'm gonna put my money he's going to. I just thought it was funny when I heard analysts saying that, you know, since what's his name from San Diego is most definitely not going to be there next year. Rivers, yeah. You know, that they might go after, you know, Brady and shit like that. And I was like, whatever. You know, it's all rumors. That's just the way analysts talk and stuff. But
yeah, no, the Chargers are definitely the front runners. If Brady doesn't sign with the Patriots, I almost guarantee that he probably goes to either Oakland or, I guess is Oakland still in Oakland, or they moved?
No, they're going to be in Vegas.
So Vegas or LA. Because they want to sell tickets to their new stadiums. That's like the primary reason. But this actually offseason is going to be extremely exciting, because there's like a Breeze is potentially going to be free agent. You got Phillip Rivers. Like, I don't know if a team will take a chance on him. He's pretty old, but you know, they might.
No.
You know, then you got Eli retired. Like, it's kind of interesting. I'm very curious to see.
Well, we're right at a turn here. Yeah, exactly. With Eli Manning retiring, like what, today or whatever, and then, you know, like you said, man, it is a new generation. I mean, Brady's got a couple more years, and pretty much all those old quarterbacks are done. Breeze is going to be done in a couple years, right? I mean, these guys are at that point,
definitely.
Right?
It's even Ben is turning 38 this month or two.
Ben, yeah, he's 38 going on like 67 with his fucking body. Christ, how that guy even fucking still playing is beyond me. But yeah, but you know what I'm saying? Like the generation that we grew up with is pretty much all done now and stuff. And this is a great example of a Super Bowl with two young quarterbacks and very ambitious quarterbacks. But I think what it's going to come down to is strictly defense. I mean, both teams can score, but both teams give up points. So this is going to be, I have a feeling this might be a super high scoring game. like a really high scoring game. Like I think it's going to be back and forth,
Probably.
and basically who ends up getting the most point or who stops.
Who gets the ball last?
Whoever gets the ball last, whoever gets that key stop is going to win this game, right?
Yeah.
I hope it's like that because I grew up watching so many shitty Super Bowls. You know my history with the Bills losing really bad in 4 straight, but just a lot of other bad Super Bowls where it was super one-sided. I hate those games.
Yeah, they're so boring.
There's been some good ones in the past few years where it's been really close. Some interesting comebacks by the Patriots against Atlanta and stuff like that. But but they've gotten better. But I think this year could be really exciting, just given what we have to work with.
Yeah, there's been some great Super Bowls the past couple years. The one that sticks out was last year was kind of not that good.
No, last year's was actually one of the worst ones in probably the last 4 or 5 or
the Denver versus Carolina one was pretty atrocious too. I remember that one sucking pretty bad.
Yeah.
But that Seattle Patriots one was great. Like exciting wise, I hated the result, but
yeah, that game was amazing. That was awesome.
Yeah. That's our sports talk, though.
that is our sports talk. I guess we probably should wrap up this intro, considering I have no idea how long it went on for. I'm sure it wasn't the 2 hours like the Watson one. No, this is pretty normal, like about 40, 45 minutes. So, but yeah, that's going to conclude the intro.
Do it live. Okay. We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
JP, do we got some news?
Yeah, actually we do, but it is kind of a down week for news. It's surprising, actually. Funny when we don't have like a guest, the news is low.
Yeah, go figure, right? Yeah. Well, that's why we had to stretch out the intro with some football and hockey talk and women's hockey talk. Who would have thought? 22 shots of Moods and Horn. We're talking about women's hockey.
Yep. All right. First up here, we got Danielle Harris is terrorized in a 50s themed roadside diner in an upcoming film In From Outside.
It takes place all in a 50s themed diner.
Yeah, I guess. I'm gonna be honest, dude. The cover looks pretty awful. If I'm gonna be honest, but it says 3 couples find themselves at a 50s themed roadside diner when one by one each of the patrons begin to disappear under mysterious circumstances. Starring Jake Busey as well as Jason Lively, James Duvall, and Danielle Harris. I mean, the concept sounds cool, but the poster does not look very professional.
Is there any other info, like who's directing it, or because I mean, if it's a decent indie director, who knows, man? I mean, sometimes artwork. I mean, especially today. I mean, I've seen a lot of good movies, and actually, even Tom, the Horsbald, even brought this up recently too. There's a lot of great movies out there with really bad artwork, which is kind of fucked up.
Yeah, it happens, but
then you get a lot of really bad movies with really great artwork too. So it's works out, but I don't know. I mean, Danielle Harris has made. I mean, she's a working girl, man. She's taken.
I feel like she's been kind of quiet lately, though.
She's been in quite a bit of stuff, but I mean, she also just had a couple kids, right? She had 2 kids very close together, so she was off and on, obviously. Projects and stuff like that. So yeah, that was part of it. So.
All right. So the director here, he had done. Let's see. Nothing. American Conjuring, which sounds like a Wild Eye movie to me.
American Conjuring. God, that sounds bad.
And the cover looks just as bad as it sounds.
It probably is a film released by Wild Eye or to be released by Wild Eye.
Yeah. Okay, after that, Mike Flanagan's 3-hour director's cut of Dr. Sleep is now streaming. Which you can see it. Where can you see this at?
What is that? An extra half an hour onto the movie?
Or 3 hour. Yeah, so it would be just under 30 minutes of footage we haven't seen.
Okay.
I'm actually curious on that. Like, I can't watch it now. It's just too soon. But
I'm curious to see what the other footage is too. Maybe more at the hotel. I don't know. Does it really need 30 minutes is a lot of time though, man. Fuck. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's available on Amazon, but don't forget the director's cut on 4K is coming out in February. And apparently like that cut is broken up into chapters like a novel is what he said. So
okay.
I'm definitely curious on it. Not something that I'm going to be like running to, but definitely the next time I watch it, it will be the director's cut.
Yeah, for sure.
After that, Tommy Chong, which you just mentioned him earlier,
Very strange.
says he's been trying to write a Cheech and Chong horror movie.
What?
Yeah.
I could just see that thing turning out to be like his script is so goofy and bad, and fucking they just turn it into like an Evil Bong sequel.
Yeah, I totally just think of it as
I
like.
think he was even
Abbott
in one of the
Costello.
Evil Bong movies, wasn't he? Wasn't
Yeah,
Tommy
no, the first one.
He was. Fucking hilarious, man. Ah, shit, dude. Too bad he didn't think of this shit like way back in the day, man. Imagine watching a Cheech and Chong horror film in the 80s, in the heyday of 80s horror films.
Dude, he's 81.
Yeah, man, he looks like he's 181 too, but surprisingly talks still really well. Like he's kind of together considering how many drugs he does. But
Yeah, I mean, I love Cheech and Chong. I feel like some of their movies are like a miss for me, but you know, like a couple of them, you know, Up in Smoke and Next Movie and Nice Dreams and a couple of those other ones were good. I didn't like what was the one the fucking Musketeer one or something. I didn't really care for that one.
Oh, the Korsakis brothers?
Yeah.
Yeah, Cheech and Chong Next Movie. Like, yeah, man. I mean, I'm actually a really big fan too. I think I have all their movies, but yeah, Nice Dreams is fucking ridiculous. What is the one? Oh shit, I can't remember.
I've actually like Still Smoking is another good one. I actually grew up with those. Like as like a little kid, I used to have them on VHS and I would watch them all the time. Probably didn't get a lot of the stuff that they were doing, but like I actually love Cheech and Chong. Like they're fucking hilarious to me. But yeah, I don't know I just don't know if like they're like, dude, they're like 80. You know what I mean? I don't know like what.
I know Tommy Chong is. I know he's a quite a bit older than the Cheech Baron. Like there is a little bit, but still they're like in their 70s and 80s, right? Yeah. So.
Yeah, how old is Cheech? Cheech is 73. Yeah, so
they're 8 years apart. Yeah, I remember that from back in the day, man. I was like, man, like I looked it up and I was like, wow, fuck, they are like 8 years apart. But because I mean, Chong always just seemed way older. I mean, fucking Cheech was born in the 30s for Christ's sake, 30s.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy, man. I don't know. I don't, dude. Whatever, do whatever you want. I'll maybe check it out, but yeah, it's kind of crazy, dude. They're a fun little duo, man.
Oh, I fucking love Nice Dreams, man. That movie is funny as hell.
Yeah, I kind of want to go through and watch them again.
I feel like they're the ones that kind of they're the ones that kind of put that fucking that name on, you know, for drug dealers, like, you know, Mr. Ice Cream Man and shit, because they disguise their ice cream vendor truck as a drug deal truck. They just deal fucking weed out of it and shit. I feel like that's where, you know, Mr. Ice Cream Man comes from, his fucking Cheech and Chong. I don't know. It's kind of funny. It's hilarious.
Yeah, so you got Up in Smoke, Cheech and Chong's Next Movie, Nice Dreams, Things Are Tough All Over, Still Smoking, the Korsakis brothers, and then you have like that animated one, which I've never seen.
I do have it. I actually still haven't watched it yet, though. It's one I haven't seen. And then there's like the spin-offs, like Born in East LA with Cheech himself. I think that's kind of when they kind of went their separate ways and did their own shit. Born in East LA, it could be a lot better. There's a great idea there, but it's just kind of lacking. Maybe Tommy Chong, right? I don't know. It's not the greatest, but it's got a great title though.
You know, I don't think I've seen Things Are Tough All Over.
It's pretty fun. I think Korskinson Brothers is probably one of my least favorites too, to be honest. But
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. After that, we got Columbia Pictures is bringing back the Anaconda franchise to the big screen with a new movie.
Oh fuck! Is this a remake or a reboot or a rehash or a fucking? Oh man, what's going on here?
Columbia Pictures is developing an all-new and all-modern take on the cult movie. The site notes hiring Evan Doherty to write the script. The site sources describes the film as a reimagining of the original, with Columbia planning a big-budget production in the vein of The Meg.
Reimagining, that was the other word. So it's not a remake. They're not remaking this one. They're reimagining it.
I wonder if they'll get J-Lo back.
And Ice Cube.
And Owen Wilson, your favorite.
Oh, fuck Owen Wilson, man. I'd rather have them have... Which one was David Hasselhoff in? Was it the sequel or the third one? Or maybe the fourth one? Anyways,
Dude, I have no
David
idea.
Hasselhoff.
I've only seen the first two.
David Hasselhoff. Yeah, I think he's in the third one. Maybe they should just get them all in there. Have David Hasselhoff mocking Owen Wilson's shitty nose and his bad acting and how he's not really fucking funny. And how David Hasselhoff's name is funnier than Owen Wilson's whole career. That would be amazing.
That's funny.
Don't hassle the Hoff. That's the funniest thing ever compared to anything out of Owen Wilson's mouth.
I guess so.
He's not funny. It's like,
I mean, I've always liked Owen Wilson, so I'm not gonna be with you on that.
I don't get it. I've never understood the appeal of Owen Wilson. Like, seriously, I think I'm missing everything that he's saying because I'm looking at his fucked up nose all the time.
Have you ever seen like Shanghai Noon?
Yes, I have seen Shanghai Noon. It's
Good movie.
His nose looked pretty shitty in that movie.
Have you ever seen Meet the Parents?
Yeah, everyone's seen Meet the Parents.
Yeah, he's good in that too.
No, he's not. He's fucking terrible. He's a piece of shit in that movie
funny.
too. He's a piece of shit in that movie too. You know, I don't really find Ben Stiller all that funny either, but it's kind of entertaining.
Have you ever seen Marley and Me?
I refuse to watch movies that are that sad. I can't. When dealing with animals and sadness,
I've ever cried in
I can't,
movie.
dude. I just fucking. I swear, I'm getting like, even in my old age, I'm like, I'm watching horror movies. I'm like, please, and like, I'll find myself saying this over and over in my head. Please don't kill the dog. Please don't kill the dog. Like, I just can't even handle it anymore. Even though sometimes it's like so fucking funny. Like, oh man, I don't know, dude. Like, it's not even funny to me. I guess I'm getting old and emotional and shit. I don't like killing dogs on screen.
No matter what you feel about Owen Wilson, he's a hell of a lot better than Luke Wilson.
No, they both suck, but
I hate.
if I had to
Wilson.
choose one of them, I take Luke.
What? That's crazy talk.
I
That's
mean,
just
he
nuts.
was in that movie. What, Vacancy?
Yeah,
Yeah, he was pretty bad in the movie too. Actually, sucked.
Vacancy
But-
2 is better than
Yeah,
Vacancy.
I think I agree with you on that too, man. I haven't watched him in a while, but I think I remember liking Vacancy 2 more, and probably thinking to myself, man, this movie's so much better without Luke Wilson in it.
Yeah, it is. That's why I like it more too.
Dude, I fucking swear we always get on these tangents about like just ripping on certain actors, like fucking, oh man, Jeff Goldblum. Fuck, Derek will not let me live this down. Like, he brings it up almost every day. They call me Moods Bloom now, and shit. Like, it's fucking because nobody can figure out why I have this deep hatred for fucking Jeff Goldblum. I don't know. Sometimes some things you just can't explain. You just know deep down in your core, hidden somewhere in that fucking, you know, that dirty, filthy soul of mine, that I just know that I don't like him. You don't have to.
What's wrong with Jeff Goldblum?
I don't know. I don't like it. I just hate the way he acts. I hate his. I don't like the way he looks. Maybe I don't like his nose either. Maybe I have a thing against bad noses or something. It's his acting, man. I can't stand the way he comes off. To me, he has this like weird arrogance about him in every role, and I'm like, dude, you're Jeff Goldblum. You can't be arrogant. Like, your ego, I can see your fucking ego. Your head is growing on screen. It's ridiculous. Fuck you, Jeff Goldblum.
Oh, what about Behind Enemy Lines?
That movie, that's a good movie.
Yep.
But I can do with certain people. I can do without certain people.
Starsky and Hutch.
Hated that movie with every ounce of every fucking passion I've ever had. Oh, I hate that movie. It's like Dodgeball. I can't fucking stand Dodgeball.
Dude, I can't stand Dodgeball.
I hate Dodgeball. I know we're going to get so much flack over this because every time I bring up Dodgeball, everyone always thrips balls at me like, how the fuck don't you like Dodgeball? It's so funny. I'm like, it's fucking Ben Stiller and fucking all these unfunny fuckers.
Dude, Dodgeball sucks. Like, I'm not afraid to say that. Like, I've always hated Dodgeball. The movie's stupid.
It is, man. It's just not, it's not even that. I mean, all comedies are stupid to me, but it's just not funny. The only point to doing a comedy is to make it funny, and if it's not funny, well, you're fucking Owen Wilson or fucking Ben Stiller. Although I do like Ben Stiller in a few movies.
They're making a new Shanghai movie. It's called Shanghai Dawn.
With Luke Wilson?
Yeah, and Jackie Chan.
Is Owen Wilson in this shit or what?
No, yeah, Owen Wilson, Jackie Chan. This is the third. They're completing the trilogy. Shanghai Noon, Shanghai Nights, and Shanghai Dawn. It's like the Of the Dead trilogy.
Oh my god! I can't believe Jackie Chan's doing. I can't believe he did even 2 of those movies. Christ!
I haven't seen him in forever.
Oh, he's been in some good movies. He played a villain in a film a couple years ago. It was really good. But I've watched a couple. Yeah.
I used to watch Rumble in the Bronx like all the time when I was a kid.
I love it.
I haven't seen that movie in so long. I should revisit that.
Like American Jackie Chan is like outrageous. That dude was on a different fucking level because he was so cool to film because he would do all his own stunts, obviously, right? But so
he just make shit up on the fly.
Yeah, so like when you're
this ladder up in the air and I'm gonna do a somersault over it and then kick it with my back foot and it's gonna flip over and then I'm gonna duck under it and I'm just like, what the fuck?
But it's just his agility and his sheer just the martial arts aspect of it and stuff is incredible. But it's so easy to film. You don't have to cut. You don't have to edit. Like it's just insane to watch because you're like, wow, he's really doing that shit. It's nuts. Fuck, he did some great movies, man.
I used to love flicks like that when I was a kid. I haven't watched any of that type of stuff in so long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been wanting to pick up all those Jackie Chan releases from 88 Films, which I'm probably going to. They're actually really cheap right now, but get myself back into it. I
didn't even know they were doing Jackie Chan stuff.
They've been releasing a lot of... Actually, a lot of companies over in the UK, like Eureka and a few other companies, have released a lot of Jackie Chan movies, like Police Story. I think that might even be released by Criterion here. But my point is a lot of the other, a little bit more geared to the American audiences, Jackie Chan films from the Hong Kong days, but... So many of them are coming out. It's crazy. They have like pretty much a Jackie Chan line from 88 Films. It's awesome. So, and those are amazing. So
I feel like watching Rumble in the Bronx now.
I should upgrade that, man. That was cool.
Dude, our purest listeners are going to fucking kill us this episode.
Talking about Jackie Chan and fucking Pittsburgh Penguins.
Yeah.
And of course, Jeff Gooerblum. Got fucking
Owen
brought
Wilson.
up. Owen Wilson, Luke Wilson. Oh my God.
All right. First look. This is from Bloody Disgusting as well. Reboot of Steven Spielberg's Amazing Stories coming to Apple TV Plus this March.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't have Apple TV Plus, nor will I ever. So
I know. I was just saying. I have a lot of Apple electronics. I never got Apple TV because I honestly don't watch a lot of general like just TV. So and a lot of shit. So yeah, I mean, I'll catch that on the bootlegs, I guess, or maybe get a media release. I don't
know. Let's see.
I was joking about the bootlegs, by the way.
Dang. Okay, this is the last little bit of news here. Like I said, it was pretty dry week. Richard Stanley's Dunwich horror will expand his Lovecraft universe and feature the Necronomicon.
Oh, yeah.
So, basically, speaking with Rue Morgue, he said, I'm pleased to say that Spectre Vision has basically greenlit 2 more Lovecraft adaptations, and I'm currently prepping my new adaptation of the Dunwich horror. It will be set in the same milieu as Color Out of Space in a near future disaster-struck Arkham County.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, I see. I don't know shit about Lovecraft. Like, literally nothing. I know that like Reanimator's based on one from Beyond. Yeah, that's all I know. I don't know anything. I know way more about Poe.
Yeah, H.P. Lovecraft was pretty interesting. I mean, I don't know everything about him personally and stuff. I know that a lot of his works have been adapted. You know, I mean, I know that he died really young. Like he died in his 40s, which was kind of crazy.
I mean, wasn't that kind of common back then?
Well, I think he died in the 30s. Like 1930s. Like he's not like
really?
Poe age, where Poe was, you know, in the 1830s and stuff, like 100 years prior and stuff. But yeah, I mean, he was pretty prolific with his works and stuff, kind of, you know, more or less like Poe, ahead of his time with his type of stories and shit. And I can see why people are still, you know, adapting these type of stories, because, you know, he did the Cthulhu story and shit like that, and it just goes on and on. But just a really interesting mind, and I think, you know, people just want to take his ideas and just kind of give him the best adaptations out there and stuff, right? I mean, think about some of the stuff that's been adapted that he was writing, you know, in the 20s and stuff like that. It's crazy. Like, very, very ahead of its time and stuff. But yeah.
What's your favorite adaptation? Probably Reanimator.
One of my favorite H.P. Lovecraft adaptations is Reanimator, which, you know, the adaptation itself is it's like loosely I mean, it's the idea of it.
Most of them are loosely based, it seems.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, a lot of the adaptations, they take the idea and kind of just go with it, you know, do their own type of thing and stuff. But Reanimator, you know, to stamp the name on there, H.P. Lovecraft, yeah, Reanimator is one of my favorites, to be honest, because it's one of my all-time favorite movies. I mean, it's got one of my tied for favorite actor, Jeffrey Combs, in it, and it's classic, man. It's classic all the way around. It's an amazing film.
Yeah, I like From Beyond a lot.
From Beyond is good. You know, it's pretty much, yeah. So,
all right, that's the news.
Cool.
Fucking thing sucks.
Okay, so moving along here. Let's get into a knowledge segment that was actually an email sent to you, JP.
The word I bring to you today is knowledge reigns supreme. You got no time to joke and play, cause knowledge reigns supreme.
Yeah, it was actually sent to us like right before we started the show. It is from Jim from Toronto. Jim
was that Kim Cornelius?
Cornelius, yeah. Yep. So he says, "Hey guys, it's been a while. Happy New Year." Thank you, Jim. Happy New Year to you as well.
Happy New Year.
He said, "You may have already covered this before I send this, but we have not. But I was wondering what your thoughts were on the announcement made by Exploding Heads regarding going to a paid subscription for their podcast and others going down this route. I can understand why they have decided to do it, but is this the way things will be going in the near future, in your opinion? Have you guys considered it? If things go down this road, who will survive, because there's only so much extra cash to go around, and already paying for multiple streaming services doesn't help. Will we get to the point where we'll have to choose between our favorite podcast? Could this be the beginning of the end for the grassroots podcasters who love horror and just want to host pods to talk about them for free? Would we ever have to pay to hear JP and Moods battling it out over a film, or Jeremy calling people assholes? That might be worth paying for. LOL. Imagine the t-shirt idea. Jeremy called me an asshole in 22 shots. Thanks, Jim from Toronto.
Of course he called you an asshole. Fuck.
Yeah. All right, so I'll start. Yes, I have heard about Exploding Heads' decision to go behind a paywall, exclusive to Patreon. So a couple things here to unpack. First, they are doing this after episode 100, and their primary reasoning is that they want to make money to start doing a film, which they had talked about for a few years now, wanting to do. They've kicked around ideas and talked about what they would want to do and stuff like that. And I actually think, I think Christian has some talent. Even like the videos that he edits and stuff like that, and he, his little shorts and stuff like that actually he probably is the one that has like the creative drive out of those guys in terms of like filmmaking. So I can see that happening. Two, putting the show behind a paywall is an interesting choice. I can't say that I'm surprised because I've seen other shows do this, and it seems like a lot of shows are going that territory. For me personally, I will not do it. I know that Moods and Jeremy feel the same, and Moods can elaborate himself. Jeremy's not here. But, you know, unless they were forcing me to do it, which I know they won't, I don't want to do it. And my reasons for that is because I've always hated limiting things from the public. Like, we've talked about limited releases of Blu-rays. Like, you're denying people from seeing film. I don't like that. I don't like limiting the people that can listen to our shows. So you guys don't have to worry. We're never going to do that. Like, the timed releases is one thing for us. You know, we do an early access format, which people do love that are part of the Patreon, that, you know, download the episodes early. We get a lot of downloads from those, and people seem to like the early access, which I think is a fair compromise for the listeners who, you know, and hey, there's people that genuinely can't afford it. Do I think that people should pay for content? The answer is yeah. I actually do think that if you really like something and it brings you entertainment, I think that you should pay for it. And that goes for, like, that's the same way I don't like pirating movies. You know what I mean? I know that everybody out there has done it here and there, including myself, you know, for specific reasons or whatever. But for the most part, I buy the movies that I watch. And I think that I think that's the way it should be. I think you should buy music. I think you should buy any forms of entertainment. That you shouldn't, you know, just take it and not expect to ever pay for things. Now, do I think that everybody should pay for our podcast or another podcast? No, I don't. If you don't like it that much, if it's just something you kind of casually listen to, then no, it's not worth it for you to pay for. But the people out there that tell us, hey, your show really gets me through the day, and like I appreciate it so much, all the hard work you guys do and stuff like that. That's nice too. But, you know, a buck or two for the early access or something would be nice as well. And not listen, guys, the amount of money that we make from the Patreon is nothing. It's like very, very little. So it's not about the money at all. It's about the motivation. It motivates me to see growth and see some kind of just even like when we first were able to pay for our hosting and our website and stuff without money out of our pockets, it meant the world to me, because I was just like, wow, we created something that actually is paying for itself. That's like insane. I was so happy. But you know, back to the point where I do think that this is content, and the amount of time that we put into it, I think that it should be worth something to certain people, not everybody. And it's fine if you're somebody who doesn't like, you know, that it just enjoys it for free and that don't think that it's worth any money, then yeah, you shouldn't have to pay for it. But the people who actually are out there saying like how much it means to them and how like great how great it is and how it like makes their day go by so fast and how it gets them through hard times and stuff like that, like, hey, I appreciate it and the kind words and stuff. But if that was me and I do this, I donate to shows that do that for me, because what is $2 here and there, you know? But at the end of the day, to go back to the exploding heads thing, I get why they're doing it. It's not for me. It's not for us. I see where they're coming from. I do think that the negatives to it is, one, you're severely cutting your audience in sections. Like, I couldn't even imagine 50% of the people that listen to us paying for it if we went behind a paywall. I would say, honestly, more like 1/10 of the people.
It's that whole thing, right? You know, when you've provided a free service for people, and then all of a sudden you're asking them to pay. I mean, at that point, you're not really given... The only option that these people have now is either pay or don't listen. You know, at least with the way we do things, we have a Patreon, but we don't force people to donate or, you know, to buy shows and things like that. If they don't donate to it, we're still going to provide this free service for people.
And that's a big thing, dude. I don't want to ever force somebody to pay for something if they don't think it's like, some people just think that it's cool. It's like it's something that I listen to from time to time. They don't think that it's this amazing thing. Other people think that it's awesome and super cool and stuff like that. Those are the people that a lot of them do donate to us. But I get what you're saying. Like, I don't want to ever force somebody to pay for something that they might not think is worth anything.
Options are a good thing, right? We have a Patreon, yes. But we don't force people to, like I said, to, donate to that or whatever. And we still continue to do this free regardless of it. And I think that's a really good thing for the fans. And I think the fans and the listeners, they respect that. I think when you've provided a free service and then you solely don't give the option and you're going to go behind a paywall, I think you're alienating a lot of people. I think you're hurting a lot of people's feelings. And I think you're creating a lot of controversy too, because I mean, you're obviously creating a lot of, a lot of talk and and I'm not just talking about Exploding Heads. I'm talking about for other podcasts that want to do this and stuff. I mean, what are the true motivations here? So with Exploding Heads, they're talking about, they want to do this movie and stuff like that, but people are going to question that. Like, are they, is this what they're using the money for, or now are they just getting greedy, or whoever, it raises a lot of questions. I think you lose a lot of loyalty that way. And I honestly believe, and if you have a fan base, I mean, in my opinion, I don't think you're going to even retain 30% of those people that are going to start, or gain. I mean, let's face it, man. I mean, their Patreon is a decent size, right? But at this point, I mean, are you going to be gaining more? I don't know. I don't think so. And I never would ever want to be put into that position. I mean, for me and you who come from doing, YouTube videos and stuff, we provide a free service for people. We take our own time. We put that content out for people to enjoy it. And it's like therapeutic to me. That's why I started making videos back in the day too. And I use this platform as the same way. It was therapeutic. And, as somebody that, is a fan of podcasting and, and also as a podcaster, I wouldn't want to be in that position to have to choose now, do I have to pay for this or not? Right? Like, I understand where you're coming from. You're talking about, we put in all this time and stuff, and, I feel like some people should pay for that and stuff. I kind of feel opposite. I don't really think, because I've also made the conscious decision to involve myself in this podcast. I know what I'm getting myself into. I don't really expect people to pay for it. And frankly, I don't really want them to, just to hear the show. I mean, like I said, again, the Patreon is an option. A Patreon is just an option if they want to. It was something that was created because, okay, here's some options, guys. You guys want to get involved with the show, and that's how it was actually created, was to get people more involved. Because we always used to have people ask us, hey, can you do this show? Can you do this show? And we're like, okay. Then also we have 30 shows lined up, and we can't get to them all. But if we kind of break it down with the Patreon, if you guys want to, do this, pay for this, blah blah blah, and it kind of worked itself that way. But it's an option at the end of the day. That's the biggest thing. And at this, and having those options, we're not hurting people's feelings. We're not alienating people. And like, I understand where people are coming from. Jim talked about finances and stuff with all the streaming and the way people have to watch movies and stuff. There isn't enough money to go around to everybody. I
mean, that's a fair point, because I did say, like, what's $2 and stuff. But like, if you have an entertainment budget, essentially, where you put 12 for Netflix, you put 5 for Shudder, you put whatever for Hulu, you got your Spotify, Disney Plus or whatever. Yeah, all of a sudden that is, $60-$70. And then can you add another, 3 to 5 to 10 to it? I get that.
That's the thing, like, even when I never really even thought about it until you started naming off everything. But like, I've been a Prime member, but I mostly use Prime.
I'm a Prime member too,
right? Yep. So I mean, with my Prime membership, my
it's like $15.
No, I mean, I have like a Prime account, so that includes the Prime Video and stuff. Can you just buy Prime Video just exclusively?
No, I have a Prime. I pay $15 a month for my Prime. You probably pay yearly.
Oh yeah. I think mine's like $85 or $90 a year, whatever. I don't know. So $90 a year. So I get the streaming service, but then, I have Shudder, I have Netflix, I have whatever, like Disney, all these things that I'm all of a sudden paying like $150 a month, right?
I mean, it's true. Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy,
but
dude.
On
That's
the
so
flip
crazy.
side, I get this too, though, because it's
I
like
gotta start canceling some of this shit. I'm gonna go fucking broke. I buy all these movies and I'm paying all this money for streaming, but my Prime accounts for four of my movies.
I definitely need to keep some of the streaming, Shudder. I couldn't really live.
I actually
it.
use Shudder honestly more than I use Netflix for, because Netflix just
I actually
never
just
seems
canceled my Netflix.
Yeah, it never seems
really
to get
watch
anything. Like, it's fucked, man. Like, they have, you know what they added in like the last 3 months? Literally 45 fucking hundred fucking Indian movies. I'm like, that's it. I'm like, I mean, honestly, dude, I watched, I honestly, kind of clicked in a couple of them. I'm like, I like those Bollywood, some of that's just pretty fun and stuff. But I'm like, where's the other movies? I'm like, why'd they add so many of these things? I'm like, okay, Netflix is just reaching, they're just grasping at straws right now. It's crazy. But
and here's another example of something where I've heard Dave talk about this particularly. Okay, there's shows out there that 100% are not as good as Exploding Heads, are not as good as us, 100%. And these shows are clearing like $3,000 a month, $4,000, $10,000 a month, and they're literally not as good. So I kind of understand that concept too, where it's like, hey, if everybody who listened to this paid $5 a month, I could literally quit my job and podcast full time.
How do these people get like that? Okay, so what's their circumstances? Are they behind a paywall completely, or did they have just
some
by chance?
Some of them are.
Did they have
some of them?
But okay, like I said off the top of the show before we even started recording, I think it really depends. Like, if you have like a massive following, right? And then people, you have this huge following, and you have a Patreon, and people are like supporting like crazy and stuff, and then you go behind the paywall. Even if you lose some of that, you're still maintaining a huge fan base and stuff. Like, we don't really know exactly what our true fan base is. Same with Exploding Heads. They probably really don't know and stuff. So it's like it's a really huge gamble, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're just not big enough, I think, to actually ever try. I mean, we wouldn't, because I think it's pretty.
I can tell you right now, we're big enough to where if everybody who downloaded or listened paid $3,
oh yeah, I mean,
we probably wouldn't have to work.
In that sense, yeah, for sure.
But I know that's never, because you're getting random people who aren't even fans who just like download because they were curious or whatever. But like,
I just have too much of a conscience, dude. Like, I honestly think about people before myself almost too much. And I'm like, the first thing I thought of was like, what about how many people tell me that, they can't pay for the early access, and they feel bad about that. And, they want to contribute to the Patreon and pick shows, but, they can't afford it. And I'm like, right away, I was like, dude, even hurting one of those person's feelings, just going exclusive, and then now they can't even listen to the show when all they wanted to do was, spend the money and, pick a fucking main feature, and they couldn't afford like the $10 or whatever. And just the fact that, putting a paywall in there and then being like, dude, now you can't even listen to the show. Like, that hurts me to even think that. I'm like, no fucking way. Because the reason why we do this is because those people are listening and stuff. I would never, ever want to alienate those people, because we do this strictly for, at least I do. I do it for them. And, I love doing this. I love sitting here in my studio and recording and doing this shit. But at the end of the day, that's what I said about last week about, like, I wish people would comment a little bit more, because the comments are getting far in between and stuff. And I think it's a lot of people are just so used to listening and stuff, and they maybe just think that we know what they're thinking, whatever. I don't know what it is, but it is nice to get the feedback, because, at the end of the day, we still get motivated by that. Right. And I think, motivation honestly, is everything for us, man. And it really is,
It is. It's everything for me personally, because for somebody, I haven't really been like too public about this. I haven't said it on the show, but I basically had to quit my job for this show.
I kind of made fun of that last week.
Yeah. Basically, that I wasn't going to be able to record the show because of this new thing at work where they needed me to work when I would be recording the show, or like it was a conflict of schedule. And there was other things too. I'm not going to say like, oh, I quit my job over just this podcast, but I did make a crazy life decision based on my love for the show, which is, I know some people were probably like, you're stupid or whatever, but honestly, I was really thinking about it, and it was other things, but I was thinking about it, and I'm like, this show has made me so happy over the years. Like it's like my number one hobby besides watching horror movies, and it actually has brought me through some very dark times, like very bad things happening in my life and things like that. And being able to create and put out a product or a content that people seem to enjoy has like brought so much like fulfillment to my life, honestly. And I've always wanted to create or be, do something that people were interested in. So that's a big deal to me. And honestly, like I was freaked out whenever I thought I was going to have to walk away from it. Because I've walked away in the past for like temporary, like, we've all, me and Moods both have had, and Jeremy have had things in our life that come up where we have to take a break, but I never once ever thought that I wasn't coming back. And this time I was like, wow, I might actually have to quit. And it freaked me out. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that. But, so I took a pretty big pay cut to keep doing the show. And, I live pretty tight already. So it was pretty unfortunate. But when we're talking about things that motivate me, comments, views, like if our show does better each year, like gets more views or downloads, like that motivates me because that makes me feel like I'm growing. But whenever we stop, the comments slow down, the views don't grow anymore, that actually discourages me a little bit because it makes me feel like, I don't know, it's just anytime our numbers are good or something, it gives me motivation. I'm like, oh dude, what do you want? Like what can we do next? Like what if we did like this? Like it makes me creative and think about it. But I guess that's with anything though, right? Like if you're playing basketball and you aren't progressing as a player, like it discourages you and you don't want to do it anymore because you just feel like, I've peaked. I can't do any better than this. Is the best I'm going to do. Let me try something else. So that's the same kind of thing with podcasting. If we don't keep growing, if we don't keep being successful, then it kind of like peters out a little bit. And also the Patreon actually sparked a huge re-interest in the show. I mean, I've always been interested in it. And truly, I podcast for fun, first and foremost. Like, I don't make shit off of, me and Carly's show or Netflix and Chill or any other guest spots that I do. I just like doing it. So,
you don't get paid for yours? You
No.
sucker motherfucker, man. Fucking Fresh Cuts pays me like $100 every time I do a guest spot on there.
I bet they do.
Mm-hmm.
They probably need to get you on. But no, seriously, like I've always done it first and foremost for the love of doing it. And like anything that comes after, like some extra cash that we can use to pay the website or make shirts or even buy a Blu-ray or two, is such an awesome bonus. But at the same time, it is just a bonus. It's not the main purpose I do. However, it would be stupid if I never thought that how awesome it would be if I could make, if I could pay my bills, some of my bills. It would be really hard to pay all your bills with a podcast split between 3 people, but I have thought like, wow, that would
especially
be,
my bills.
I've seen
Fuck.
I've seen other shows do this. I've seen people quit their jobs and podcast for a living. I mean, what's better than doing the thing you love most for a living?
Yeah, we need to start getting that last podcast on the left money, man. What do they make, like fucking $300,000 a piece a year
or something? Yeah,
they're bringing in around $1 million, and it's like split between 3 people. It's like, holy fuck, man! Like 300,000 is
like I don't even
money.
need all that. If I made like just enough to work a part-time job, I would be fucking like, dude, you wouldn't like. I would be the happiest dude on earth. I would be like, holy shit! Like I'm actually doing something that I love for like money. This is crazy. Like, and like honestly, truly, if this is pure fantasy, but like let's just say, for example, like me and you both like hit the lottery or something, didn't have to work, didn't have to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like the like amount of awesome content we would be able to create with no like worries besides like, you know, family stuff. Like we would be able to put out like such better quality, like just amazing episodes. It would be like, I'm not gonna lie, that would be a cool thing, but it's just not realistic, and that's okay. I'm fine with being the way that it is. But honestly, I do anytime we get, like, when somebody joins the Patreon, like I get an email notification, like it instantly makes the next like 30 minutes to 2 hours of my life like happy. Like I'm just like, oh, that's cool, like somebody else wanted to donate to us. Like it makes you feel good. It makes you feel like you're doing a good job, because
speaking of that,
feedback is important. In order to, you know, if nobody's giving you feedback, you don't feel like you're doing a good job, or how are you gonna know that, you know, all your hard work, and this is hard work, dude. Like Mood said it the other day, like this is anywhere from like 12 to like 24 hours of dedication a week. That's a part-time job. But go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, was it a new Patreoner that picked a show, or was it a Patreoner that was already... It was
Geno Cyber, I think. Okay. It's a regular guy who's constantly who has been a long time Patreon supporter, but yeah, he changed his...
Okay, I was gonna say, if he was a new guy, then we'll just give him a shout out, because we usually do, but yeah.
But no, I mean, I think that we're both in the same headspace. Like, we don't like limiting things. And when we first started this Patreon, you could go back and listen. I said it then, and I still stand by it. We will never do that. I don't like frown upon people who do it, because they have their own reasons for doing things, and everybody's not us, and everybody doesn't have the same. Like, honestly, like we're closer with our listeners than most shows on the internet. You know what I mean? Like, we definitely are. We have more direct lines of communicate. Like, we have group chats with tons of our listeners and things like that. And I shouldn't have said that. Now everybody's going to want to be in group chats with us. But, you know, so it's different for us, because we do have more of a personal attachment to our listeners. And hey, we came from the YouTube community, very different from the podcast community, right?
Yeah.
So I get why somebody would want to do it. And hell, if they want to make a movie, if that truly is what they want to do, like, I think it's cool. But you had mentioned something before the show that they could have done a Kickstarter.
Yeah. I mean, if that was the ultimate goal, was to essentially raise money to make the short film and stuff, I mean, they could have kept doing, you know, the free content and just started up a Kickstarter, which I think is a little less, I don't know, I don't want to be rude, but like a little less alienating, and possibly a little bit more productive, you know, because I think the route that they're taking, them, in my opinion, they're going to lose a lot of fan base. I do wish them the luck. You know, I hope it works out for them and stuff. But I truly think that, just given the circumstances and stuff, I think it's going to be a hard thing to progress with. But you know, I mean, if they've looked into it and done their research and stuff, I mean, and they think it's going to work, I mean, you know, I give them props, and you know, I hope it works out in the end. But you know, it is what it is. Who knows?
One thing that it's funny, because like, there's nothing stopping somebody from just taking your episode and putting it online for free.
Yeah, I know, right?
Because I've thought about that with these exclusive shows, because there was one show that I listened to. It was actually a Survivor podcast.
Well, it's no different than, you know, when people buy an album or get a promo copy and stuff, and you go to the bootleg sites and it's there. You know, like, you're still selling copies in store, or you're selling digital, but I mean, that shit is like for free download on certain websites and shit. It's like, anybody can do this all the time. I mean, fuck, dude. I mean, I don't obviously have people, you know, have to pay to watch my YouTube channel, but I've had people steal like 40, 50 videos and start their own channel and pretend they're moods. This has happened on three different occasions now.
Yeah, I remember that.
It's happened 3 fucking times now, where people have taken my videos and pretended that it was me, or pretend it was them, and it's fucking me. I'm like, what the fuck, man? Like, but that's what I'm saying. It's just so easy to do, right? Anybody can do that.
Yeah, but you know, it's one of those things where, like, I see. I'm actually curious to see how it plays out for them, because we're already around similar spots with the Patreon in terms of like supporters. So I'm certain that their numbers will go up, but I'm curious to see, like, let's say they have 100 Patreon supporters, right? So you have 100 listeners, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
That just seems so low compared to, the couple that like 800 to, 1,500 downloads / plays that we get, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that they probably get too. It's like, 1/10, 1/15 of what your listeners were. But at the same time, those are probably the hardcore fans that care the most too.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, I think the casual to the non-hardcore listeners are the majority of your audience too, though, right? So,
definitely.
So,
definitely.
I mean, when you make up that difference, it's like, holy shit, man. If that's gone, then there isn't much left. So, I mean, I think it's risky. I think it's really risky for a lot of reasons. I think that moving forward is going to be harder, but you also can't go backwards either. And I think that's one of the main focuses that I'm looking at here. Like, you can't go backwards, because I think once you've made that leap to the paywall and you do that, you can't go back. Because I think once those people are gone, they're gone. I don't think, like, if you went back to being like, okay, well, this Patreon paywall thing didn't work, so we're going to go back to doing free content because we need fans back as we're kind of struggling. I think that, like, I think a lot of people are a lot smarter and they'll see right through that transparency and be like, no, we seen what you tried to do one time, and that's it. I mean, that's just the way I think, though, too, because, like, I mean, you kind of get hurt by that. I mean, it's hard to go from something that's free to all of a sudden paying for it. Like we were talking about before the show and stuff, it's like, you brought up the fact that, like, people pay for television, they pay for, this service, this streaming service, and then I used the example of, but those things were always pay. You always had to pay for those things. People are used to that. Once you have something for free, then all of a sudden you have to pay for it. It changes your mentality, not only about what you're doing, like how you listen to the show and stuff, and what you want to do with that show, but it also changes your view of maybe the creators and where it's coming from and stuff like that too. You're like, I don't know.
Yeah, I actually am a Patreon to Exploding Heads.
I just wouldn't want to lose that almost that intimacy with a lot of the fans. I mean, I know that we're kind of sounding gross, but you know what I mean?
One of the things they're saying, though, is that their intimacy is going to be stronger with the people that actually support the show, because they're going to have this secret group where only those people that support are...
See, that shit
they're
sounds
basically they're almost like canceling their Exploding Heads group in a way and just creating a new one that's more private and more
it sounds cultish to me, man.
It does sound cultish, but
a little bit. But I mean, again, like, if they truly think this is going to work, again, I wish them all the luck. But in my opinion, I think it's really, really dangerous on so many different levels. I just wouldn't want to fuck up, the fun that we're having and try to do something that, in my heart, like, I mean, I try not to be negative, but at the same time, you got to be realistic, though, too, right? And I see the cons outweighing the pros here, and that's a huge red flag for me. So, and I truly think that a lot of people will also see it that way too. But like I said, who knows, man? It might work, it might not. I guess we'll have to wait and see, right?
Yeah, I actually am a Patreon member for Exploding Heads, but one thing that I am honestly kind of bummed out about this whole thing is I don't fucking listen to podcasts on Patreon. I hate it, So not being on iTunes is kind of a deal breaker for me with most shows, I do support certain shows that are, exclusive to Patreon, but they also eventually release it's like timed exclusive. So like Patreon, they'll do a show and then like a month later it'll be available for everybody else. So it's like kind of what we do with the early access, but it's like long early access. But yeah, I'm a big. I listen to podcasts in a certain way. I like the convenience. I don't want to listen to them on Patreon personally, but So that's something that I don't think was mentioned. I guess they can't put it on iTunes then if it's.
Well, no, because everything, those type of platforms is free use, right?
Mm-hmm.
Again, I mean, but you just made another point though. Like, you're even losing you, and you're a hardcore fan. So like I said, again, the pros.
It's actually my. If I'm being honest, Exploding Heads is, I think, the best podcast, horror podcast. They do. I mean, it's probably a lot because of it's a combination of our show, which is what I like. So that's why this show was kind of created like that, is because we like these type of content. And then also Brandon, Christian, and Dave are just really funny too. But yeah, it's I really like a lot of horror shows, but that's one that I think it stands above a lot of the other horror shows. So yeah, but I mean, my thing is I never was a Patreon for anything other than just to support them, but that sucks that it's not going to be available, that I have to listen through Patreon, because I just don't like doing that. I like to download the show so I don't have to use my data too, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even though
sure.
I have nearly unlimited data, it's just it cuts out and stuff because sometimes I don't have good service. But I guess I don't know. I think you could probably download it off of the Patreon. I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't even fathom it, man. Actually, I was listening to Take a Personal podcast today, actually. And, I just, I downloaded it on my phone and for the podcast app and stuff. I was at the gym and I was listening to the Spice One interview and stuff on there today. And, I couldn't even imagine just I mean, I would support the show. Actually, they do have a Patreon. I should actually support their show. They actually do. And it was funny because they actually beat around the bush for a couple of years. They didn't want to do it because they're we don't want to take money. We're just doing this shit for fun. But they're and people kept hounding them I want to support the show. And they actually had people we want to pay you kind of thing. Right. So, but I'm just thinking I couldn't even imagine just all of a sudden being forced to fucking listen to that and shit like that. And I was actually listening to Wes Craven's show the other day too, Barbershop Talk, which actually I'm going to be guesting on Monday. I'm actually going to be recording a spot with them. Have you ever listened to Wes's show? Yeah. So it's just, they do, it's mostly a hip hop show. They do the odd movie review and, commentaries and things like that, but it's mostly, shooting the shit about hip hop and, current events and things like that. So, but Wes has been trying to get me on the show for I think since they started the show a year ago. He asks me all the time and I can never fucking do it. Right. But anyways, yeah. So I was just thinking about that. And I was, again, on the podcast app, download the show and fucking just listen to the show. It's right there. I don't want to have to be worrying about money coming out of me. No, I don't have to worry about money coming out of my accounts and shit. But you know what I'm saying, though, right? There's variables there that are just not appealing, right? When it's free, man.
Yeah. So thank you, Jim, for the question. That's now the second full time we talked about this, because we actually talked about it before we went live, and then we got that email. So I'm drained on talking about it. But
that was actually kind of weird. We were literally in the middle of talking about it.
We almost had the same conversation twice.
Pretty much. Yeah, that's fucking weird. It's actually really strange timing. But how often do we actually get to a question that, is emailed to us and then just do it right away, the same minute? It doesn't happen very often on the show, but actually we needed content, because if you guys haven't noticed, it's just me and JP tonight. It's just the two of us. Oh my god, I gotta do that every fucking time.
Just the two of us. See, I always think of the Eminem one. Just the two of us. Of course you think it's fucking Eminem. Just the two of us. Just you and I.
Oh my god. Yeah. But yeah, I guess that's going to conclude knowledge. Thank you, Jim, again for your email, because we really appreciate it. We honestly don't get them anymore, and it's kind of a lost thing with us. We don't even really give out the actual voicemail number anymore. It's in the
when Jeremy's on, he gives it out every time.
Yeah, in the show
nobody
notes.
Listens to that.
That's what I'm saying. Actually, someone actually told me the other day that they actually listen to Reach at the end of the show all the time, and they always hear the stupid shit that I put at the end of the shows, and I'm like, that's so funny, because no one ever comments on it. So I'm like, I don't think anyone ever listens that far for real. Like, it's not just a joke against Jeremy's outro. It's like, literally, the shows are 6 hours long. Like, who the fuck is still listening to the show kind of thing, right? But he's like, no, I can't remember who I was talking to, and they're like, no, I hear the fart noises and the samples that you put at the end and shit. I'm like, that's fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
But, anyways, yeah, that is knowledge.
42 shots.
Alrighty, so getting into this week's box office brawl.
Let's get ready to rumble!
JP, do you want us to enlighten us on the numbers?
Yeah, so last time it was underwater, and you said 6.5 million, I said 11.5, Jeremy said 13.5, and it only made 7 million, so you were only 500,000 off of that.
Damn, I should get an extra point for that, man. That should have been in the rule book, man. If you come within like 500,000, you get an extra point, because that's pretty fucking close.
I've actually thought about that, and I actually have a couple more ideas for possibly next season that I could run by you guys, but that's like 12 months away. So, but yeah,
did you just say season?
Yeah.
Actually, that would have been an interesting thing to do that in seasons. Have 2 box office brawls so you have one for the first 6 months of the year and then one for the second half.
That's how we do our MMA poll that I'm in with Jerry, Venom, and Mike and Luis and a couple of my real life friends. We do it in 6 month increments. Jerry's won twice in a row.
Of course he has, man.
Yeah. So this week's film was The Turning. I honestly did not have any clue what to do with this one. It's PG. I kind of went with just like where I've been kind of going with like 10 to 13 million. I said 10.65, very specific. Jeremy said 12 and Mood said 9.7. Honestly, it's like based on the numbers that came out today for the Thursday night previews, it is probably looking like Moods is probably going to hit another one, because it's probably going to come in around like 7 to 9 million. So you might be getting another point. So the score right now is 1 Moods, 1 Jeremy, and me nothing.
Man, I can't believe how close our picks are every week. That's crazy.
Yeah, because these are blind picks now too. So
yeah,
we're not actually knowing what the other person picked.
I don't know what possessed me to pick 9.7. I just thought it was a good non-round number. I've been kind of going like more the weird numbers too, to like avoid a tie. Yeah, I think that's actually a bit of my thought process there too. I'm like, I'm pretty sure no one's going to pick 9.7. So, because it literally happened like 2 weeks ago where I had picked the same as you, or no, Jeremy. Yeah, I picked the same as Jeremy, which is crazy, right? Because like I said, these are blind. We don't know what we're picking. So, yeah, that's kind of weird. But
Ian's both picked 12 back then.
Yeah. So. And it's funny too, because I'm like, my guesses are relatively close because I don't really do a lot of research. The only thing I'd look into is just to find out how many theaters are in, because I think that's a good, starting point, just to think about it. I'll factor in, even cast and like the rating and stuff. But I mean, there's a big difference if it's in 1,900 theaters to 35. Right?
Yeah,
I mean,
huge difference.
Just a fucking massive. You kind of need to know.
It's actually hard to find that information now because
I noticed that, dude. I actually did this with The Turning. Like, I didn't even really look into it at all. I just kind of I was like, I knew the kid from Stranger Things was in it, and I was like, okay, he's kind of hot, but I'm like, this is PG-13. It looks like trash.
That's a file.
Yeah, so I'm like, whatever. Fuck. 9.7. Sound like a good round non-number. So yeah.
That's Box Office Brawl.
I am the devil, and I am here to do the devil's work.
They will say that I have shed innocent blood. What's blood for, if not for shedding?
I like to dissect girls. Did you know I'm utterly insane?
Have you checked the children?
What do we do?
Why don't we just wait here for a little while? See what happens.
Alrighty, so getting into some dub. Y'all know the routine. It's where we go round tree, which isn't really with two people, is that even a round circle tree? It's just like back and forth, I guess.
Yeah, back and forth.
So this week we're gonna go back and forth and do some mini reviews, give some ratings, and pass it across the table. This week I'm gonna start because I've actually got more than JP, so it'll just work itself out there. This is a Patreon pick coming from, holy fuck, I did it again. I don't have the names on here.
Yeah, I was just looking and you deleted mine, which you told me you did earlier, but I totally forgot that I didn't know the name.
But you know what I did though? I even had them written down, and I think I deleted the names like off my. So I know I did it in the Patreon, but I actually had them on my page, like on my notes here, and somehow I accidentally deleted the names. Shit. So, fuck. Anyways, Patreon pick. Sorry again. I apologize if it's you. Awesome. First pick here is from 1989, and it is called, I'm not even going to attempt to try and pronounce this first name. I have no idea even where to start with this. Thought I was good with reading, but this is crazy. But it's like Urotsukidoji, I don't know, Legend of the Overfiend. It's a Japanese anime film. Basically, this one is about... Man, this is kind of an interesting film, actually, because, well, I'll get into the synopsis first, but it's basically about these three worlds. It's got there's three worlds that kind of coincide together, which is the human world, there's a demon world, and then there's like a man-beast world. And they all kind of, live together, and they kind of, coincide with each other and stuff. So basically the plot of the film is every 3,000 years, there's this kind of super god that is reborn, called the Chong, something like that. And when he gets reborn, he basically kind of decides what he's going to do with the three worlds. Like, is he going to kind of merge them, or is he going to make them better and things like that? They don't really know what he's going to do. So essentially what it is you got this one dude, again, I'm not going to pronounce names because they're all in Japanese and they're really hard to fucking pronounce, but there's a guy that's kind of our hero. He's part of the man-beast world, and he is set, he knows about this Chong that's going to be reborn in a human. So he's taken liberties to find this human that, where the Chong is going to be reborn in, because he wants to protect the three worlds to make sure that the demon god of the demon world doesn't get a hold of this Chong before, because basically what he wants to do if he gets a hold of this god is use the powers for bad. He's going to destroy the worlds and not create, do certain things, just do bad things with the powers and stuff. So yeah, they've got this man beast where he basically is trying to protect and find this person. He finds the actual human where the Chong is going to be, born, and he decides to protect him. And it's basically just a fight, it's man beast against demon and things like that and stuff. So, but that is basically the kind of premise of the film. This movie right here is actually pretty well known for being the film that kind of created the whole hentai movement. Basically what that is, it's kind of like anime porn in a sense, and kind of popularized tentacle fucking and and tentacle rape and shit like that. So basically with that said, this movie is very graphic. It's got a lot of it's got a lot of tentacle rape, and it's got a lot of demon penises and demon sperm and shit like that. Because one of the characters in this film is actually like a nympho, and there's this really crazy scene where this girl gets called into this room in the beginning of the film, and then the teacher turns out to be this fucking demon, and she starts raping her with this demon penis and shit, and it just kind of goes from there. It's really, really graphic and stuff. Like I said, it kind of plays off like an anime porno, but it's got this, this really kind of ludicrous storyline. This narrative is kind of crazy, involving all these three worlds, and there's a lot of characters involved and shit. But I will say, man, this is a pretty interesting movie, because even though where it goes and the third act isn't really my favorite in this one. I thought the ride to it was actually a lot more fun than where it goes in the third act. But with that said, it was still pretty decent and stuff. But it's very, very fast paced. It's very sexual. It's very odd. It's very Japanese. It's very, very fast paced. Very gory and graphic and shit like that. And I think that's what's probably appealing to this. that's very appealing to people when they watch this film, because it's pretty much some shit that you've never seen. If you're not really into Japanese anime or anime in general and you were to watch this, you'd be like, holy fuck, man, this is absolutely insane shit. But I can see how this would kind of start a movement and stuff. It's very interesting for what it is. I can't say that I overly loved it, but I did really like it a lot. It's got a lot of shit to offer. I think with a one-time watch, it'll not the story won't make a lot more sense. I completely understood the story and stuff like that, but just following characters in this is because I actually ended up watching the English dub version, so it actually wasn't in Japanese. I couldn't even find the Japanese one, to be honest. I even looked for it too, but I was fine with watching the Japanese or the English dub because it's an anime. Does it really matter, right? But I have heard there's like subtle differences in the way the dialogue tells the narrative and stuff. And I'm like, okay, with words like the Shosen and Overfiend, like there's differences in the way things are described and stuff. But either way, it was really fun. Actually, I would recommend this to people that are fans of anime and you haven't seen this and shit. But yeah, what can I say, man? The animation was, from 1989. I thought it was really good and stuff. A lot of the characters, they kind of look white and stuff. It's kind of interesting. Like kind of this hybrid between Japanese and white characters. I always find that funny in Japanese anime when the characters are, they're not kind of set in their own country, but they're kind of set in this, this off reality world and stuff. But then you're looking at them like they look more white than Japanese or Asian. It's kind of interesting. I don't know why that is sometimes, but overall, man, I had a blast with this, man. Actually, the dub on it I thought was really funny too, man. I thought some of the actors and stuff did a really good job for the dub, but like I said, I can't compare it to the native language one because I haven't seen it before. But all in all, man, it's definitely a very historic film. Like I said, kind of the start of the whole hentai type thing and stuff and the tentacle. But fuck, man, I was not really knowing a whole lot about this film going into it, so I'm watching this shit and it seems pretty normal, and then that first scene where the rape happens with this demon dick and shit, I'm just like, what the fuck am I watching? And just like it's like relentless through the whole movie, giving what the storyline is, like trying to protect the worlds, and there's a lot of rape and stuff. And I came to the conclusion that I don't think there's any consensual sex in Japan. I think it's all rape. Right? With demon penises. It's fucking insane, man. I was like, wow, this is like crazy relentless. But I mean, for pretty much a 2-hour anime, it fucking flew by. It really did. I had a lot of fun with it. A lot of characters, a lot of demon, a lot of different types of things going on, which is kind of interesting. So 8 out of 10. I enjoyed it, man. I recommend it. I think there is a sequel to this too. Yeah, it says it's showing part 2, so I probably gotta seek that out sometime and check it out, because I had a lot of fun with this. It was interesting.
All right, cool. Sounds interesting. Rape, tentacles, stuff like that.
I don't know how often rape gets brought on the show, like a lot, but like you just don't get to talk about anime rape and demon penises and sperm. It's weird. And it's graphic, dude. It's fucking so graphic, this movie, man. It's crazy. Yeah.
All right, so my pick, sorry I don't have your name, but they gave me Charlie Says from 2018. This is a Charles Manson film. I actually remember people talking about this one a little bit back in 2018. I never got around to it. Did you actually see this one?
No, I actually didn't see this movie. I know about it, though.
Yeah, so based on the Manson murders, we have... it actually opens up with some of the Manson girls, and they're incarcerated, so it's told in sort of flashbacks essentially, where we get these present day scenes with the Manson girls in prison, and then like sort of like them talking, and you get these flashbacks of what was it called, Spawn Ranch or something. And Charlie Manson with the girls, and basically, like, what this movie really does is it victimizes the girls. It makes them, which we know that they were puppets essentially, but it showcases the manipulation of Charles Manson, and how he was very controlling of these women and very manipulative towards them, as well as it paints him as more of I like it paints him in a smart way because of his manipulation, but it also paints him as I guess it kind of detaches some of the lore of him a little bit and makes him more just like a dickhead. Like he's very contradictory with his beliefs. Like he convinces these girls like, you know, to see things his way, but like there's a scene where he tells them that they shouldn't eat meat and stuff like that, but then he wants like a deer skin vest to show off to the record producer or whatever. So very contradictory, and you know, but it definitely does a good job showcasing of how he just like basically, you know, controls the hell out of them. And even not only them, but like there's a scene where he basically tells this dude he's not like in vagina correctly or whatever, and basically teaches him how to do that. So there's stuff like that. The murders are you know, not the most intense that I've seen, or you know, because the Tate LaBianca murders, kind of a known thing. Like the climax of usually the Manson story. I like the setting. They did a good job of like creating the Spawn Ranch and making it feel like this, you know, hippie cult type thing. They do a good job with the hippie girls as well. Actually, some pretty decent performances by some of the girls. There's kind of a lead one that is a little bit more sympathetic than the other ones. You kind of feel, you know, that she was a bit more of a victim. But overall, I mean, I think I'm just burnt out on the Charlie Manson story. So it didn't do any, like, I didn't feel like it was anything that hadn't been done before, or like hadn't been, I mean, some of the stuff deep down at its core was a little bit different, you know, like how they showcase I mean, everybody knows Charlie Manson was very manipulative, but I guess just seeing it played out in this long form was kind of interesting. But overall, you know, basic Charlie Manson story. I guess I give it a little bit of credit for how it was told, with like the flashback and the current incarceration type thing that they were doing. So I gave it a 7 out of 10.
Cool. Yeah, you know, honestly, I think I'm a little bit kind of burnt out on the whole Manson thing too, a little bit. And it's kind of,
he never was my favorite of the serial killer stories. Much rather like see like Henry Lee Lucas or Jeffrey Dahmer or even Ted Bundy or John Wayne Gacy. Manson was always kind of like the one that I was never as interested in, I guess because he didn't really kill anybody too.
Yeah, I mean, I followed so much when I was younger and growing up. I just felt like I just kind of exhausted everything. And it seems like a lot of the stuff is kind of being rehashed to a point, you know. They're just kind of telling the story from different perspectives. And, you know, like you said, using the women as like, you know, victims, like hardcore victims and stuff. And, you know, I mean, there's only so many ways you can really tell the story, I guess. But, I mean, at the end of the day, the Manson story is pretty fucking interesting. And it's just time capsuled in that period and shit, and it's just, I don't know, it is still interesting, but I mean, as long as they're done properly, you know. I mean, it's like any serial killer type movies. I mean, there's some good ones, there's some bad ones. It's like with the Jeffrey Dahmer films too, right? Exactly the same thing. I mean, some are decent, some are good, and I, you know, that's probably the most interesting thing about serial killer films is how they're going to tell the story. Are they going to be sympathetic to this person? Are they going to do, you know, like when you tell the high school days of Jeffrey Dahmer, you know, like that's an interesting way to tell the story because it doesn't focus on the Dahmer we know, you know. It focuses on him becoming that monster and kind of the movie ending with, you know, him becoming that person. So I think it's just on how you tell it. Have they ever told a story like a Manson story, like as him as a child?
Not that I know of, but that would be kind of interesting.
Because I know, like, his childhood was actually a little bit of mystery because from what people knew for a little bit was more or less lies. Like, he actually lied about his childhood quite a bit. And then the truth kind of came out later that some of the shit that he was saying and stuff wasn't actually true. So, but yeah, Charlie says there. Cool. Okay, moving along here. Another Patreon pick from Again, I'm really, really sorry. I'm not sure who picked this. I feel like I'm doing this a lot, man. I can't believe I erased the names off my fucking notes. It's so bad. From 1987, directed by Jose Ramon Larraz. Yeah, it's pretty fucking crazy. Movie called Rest in Pieces. I always remember this movie from the VHS days having amazing artwork. It just, and the title's awesome too. Rest in Pieces. It's amazing. But he's mostly known for directing like Symptoms, which is an amazing film from 1974. Vampires also from 1974, which is another one I really like and stuff. He went on to do like Stigma. He did that fucking crazy ass Black Candles movie with like the goat rape scene in it and stuff. Edge of the Axe, which Arrow is actually just putting out on Blu-ray, and I think it's coming out like this week officially. And Arrow's also putting out Deadly Manor, which I've actually never seen before. So he has a little bit of a catalog. And Arrow also put out a box set too with Whirlpool and a couple other films and stuff too. But he at one time was a really kind of artsy, not like full-blown artsy director, but he did, films like Vampires that was a little bit more of a different take on vampires, a little bit more artsy take and shit. A little bit more hypnotic and psychological and stuff like that. But, moving into the 80s, he kind of was really into making, American standardized, kind of slasher, kind of ghost stories and shit, stuff that wasn't overly original. But this movie right here, Rest in Pieces, is kind of the product of like taking these American elements, mixing them together, and just being like really fucked up. This is ridiculous, man. So basically what this movie is about, it's about this young married couple that just inherited the wife's aunt's fortune. Her aunt actually dies and leaves her like $8 million in this big mansion and stuff like that. And it works out great because her husband's like this struggling, tennis player and stuff. He was like an ex-pro and shit, and he's just like going nowhere with his life and stuff. So it works out perfect because she's struggling in her life, and so they get to move into this huge mansion and whatever. But it's kind of weird because they go to the lawyer's office in the beginning of the film, and they get to watch the video of her aunt basically committing suicide on it. She drinks strychnine and kills herself right on camera, and they're like, holy fuck. So anyways, they move into this house, and right away they notice some very odd things, that there's a bunch of people that actually live in this huge mansion. And so upon doing a little bit of research into it, they couldn't find like any invoices, or they couldn't find that, that any of these guests or these tenants were actually paying rent and stuff. And they're like, so they asked them like, what the fuck is going on here, man? Like, you live in this house rent free. And they're like, oh yeah. Your aunt, they did us favors, blah, blah, blah and stuff. And so essentially the couple's all weirded out because they have all these tenants that like live in this huge place, even though the place is so big that they're not really, they could be in their own little spots and stuff. But anyways, they soon learned that the guests actually have a motive for being there and stuff, and they also realize that they can't really leave the property either. So that is the synopsis of the film. It's kind of one of those weird setups where you're like, okay, I think I know what's going on with this. Is it going that way? And it kind of does. It kind of goes exactly where you think, and you're like, there's like 8 or 9 people that live in this house. Like, are they alive? Are they dead? That's where this movie becomes so bizarre. It's like the most muddled fucking storytelling of all time, because they obviously tell you why the guests are there and stuff, but they don't really tell you the true motivations, and actually the true motivations behind why the guests won't let them leave either. It's more or less, it's instructions from the dead aunt and stuff like that. And it's just this really, really bizarre take on like, are these people ghosts? Are they zombies? Like, what's the motives and shit? And like, so the whole time you're watching this movie, you're like, what in the fuck is going on? It's just ridiculous storytelling. It's actually kind of boring. There's not really a lot of great scenes. There's a pretty decent scene, probably about a half an hour or two in the bathroom and stuff. Not really a lot of blood and gore. It's kind of light on that aspect and stuff, but just really strange characters, really strange dialogue, really strange setup. There's one scene that is cool, where the guests invite this guy over and they end up killing him and stuff. But at the end of the day, you're like, how does that play into the narrative? Like, it really doesn't even make a whole lot of sense. And then to make things worse, the third act happens, and then the shit just goes like batshit, man. All this crazy shit starts happening, and you start asking yourself more and more questions. And then the final scene happens in the film, and then you're like, what the fuck did I just watch? Like it's one of those combinations of like a foreign filmmaker making an English script and doing all the, you know, taking what he thinks that he's, you know, taking certain things from it and just like doing it all wrong. It feels like that's exactly what happened in this film. But even with that said, being the most ridiculous narrative, it is oddly entertaining to the point where like you kind of want to watch it again. Like after you watch it, you're like, what the fuck, man? Because I'd seen this movie a couple times before and it didn't change at all. I thought maybe I was missing shit in the narrative. I'm not missing anything. There's just fucking the most confusing shit there ever because it's actually not there. They're just, you know, he's not telling you certain things in the narrative. So, fun movie though, man, to be honest. Like, it's honestly one of those really, really bizarre oddities. It would be a great double feature with something like Spookies because you just find yourself scratching your head the whole time you're watching, you know, 3 hours of this muddled bullshit. But oddly enough, again, I enjoyed it, man. 6.5 out of 10. I actually can't wait for Vinegar Syndrome's putting out the Blu-ray next October, and I hope there's features on it because I just want to know more about the film because there's not really a lot of information on it and stuff. So, but to see what they're going to do with the transfer, because I've only ever seen the VHS transfers. Actually, the transfer that I watched on this was really good, though. To be honest, it was actually really good. But yeah, it's Rust in Pieces, man. It's, you know, classic artwork with a really fucking strange narrative, man. Really strange. So, 1987.
All right. And then moving on for me, my last one up, I decided to rewatch Digging Up the Marrow. Kind of was feeling a little Adam Green lately. I was thinking about going through his filmography.
What year did that come out?
Digging Up the Marrow was, I want to say 2016?
No, it's before that, isn't it? Isn't it like
before that?
24. I don't know, man.
Let me see. It is, you're right, 2014. Yeah, jeez, man, time flew by. Yeah, Digging Up the Marrow. This was his second to last film. Victor Crowley was his last one. This one, it was the one I wanted to revisit because it was probably one of the more interesting ones, and it's the only one that I've seen one time out of all of his films. So I've seen all of his other films more than once. So I was like, oh, let me start with this one, and then I'll kind of poke around, maybe do all the Hatchets in a row or something. But yeah, this one, I remember following the story of when it was being made for a really long time. And when it finally came out, I had a screener of it, I believe. And I just thought it was like good. I didn't think it was like amazing or anything. I definitely felt like I was a little overhyped for it because I followed it all through, like, you know, I listened to his podcast a lot, and like I followed the whole post-production and stuff. Like he would talk about it on the podcast. So I was like really interested in it. But it basically follows Adam Green playing himself, making a documentary about monsters, essentially, like an art gallery of monster depictions and stuff like that. But then he meets this guy named Decker, and Decker says that he knows for a fact that monsters are actually real, and he knows where they're from, like where they live and stuff like that, and he could prove it. So Adam decides to actually make a documentary about this and this guy and see if it's a hoax or not. And it turns out it probably isn't, and then the Decker character gets more and more mysterious. And Adam Green actually made this based on a letter that he got talking about Victor Crowley being a real person, and he knows for a fact that the story that Adam heard when he was a kid was true, and it didn't happen exactly like that. It actually happened like this, that, and the other. And Adam thought it would be really interesting to actually meet that guy who sent him that email and, you know, do a movie about that. But then he was like, that could be dangerous, so let's just make it pure fantasy. I really like this movie now. Like, I mean, I liked it back then too, but I think I appreciated it more, like, to have some distance between, like, the hype and following the whole story and stuff like that. I try not to get hyped on stuff or overhyped, but it just happens naturally sometimes when you follow something so long. But I really like the concept of this one. The found footage aspect, the mockumentary aspect really works well. the biggest problem with this film is it just barely scratches the surface of what's possible, with the whole monsters living underground and the Marrow and stuff like that. I've heard this film compared to Nightbreed, which you just recently watched. I've actually never seen Nightbreed, so I couldn't, tell. I actually own Nightbreed. I actually own that cool Scream Factory edition, but I've never opened it, never watched any kind of Nightbreed. So yeah, but overall I thought this one was pretty fun, and it actually has like a few scary moments in it. Like Adam Green pulls off some, like, at least 2 decent jump scares, and it's kind of cool just to see Adam Green playing himself too, which he's pretty much done in Holliston almost. But I gave it a 7.5 out of 10. Pretty solid.
You know what's funny? You saying that you haven't seen Nightbreed before and comparing it to Digging Up the Marrow. Well, I haven't seen Digging Up the Marrow yet.
Are you serious? You've still never seen it?
I have had the Blu-ray for like a long. I still have not watched it. Isn't that weird?
Yeah, that is weird.
Yeah, it's kind of funny actually. I remember, well, it was probably last week or whatever when you said that you watched it, and I actually was like, man, I should really pop that in, and just kind of forgot about it. So I don't know. Oddly enough, I ended up watching Nightbreed, which is just coincidental, I guess, but yeah, cool, man. Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out sometime. I don't know why it's taking me so long to check it out. It's just one of those weird things, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, moving along here, man. And you know what I just realized? I actually found the names of the Patreoners. So Legend of the Overfiend was given to me by Gino Sliber. Rest in Pieces was given to me by James Cokes. So
oh, okay, cool.
That makes, and then, okay, so this Patreon pick is coming from Jellybane from 1999, and it's a film called The Green Elephant. Oh man, this movie right here, I actually knew about. I'd never seen it before. I'd only ever heard kind of bad things about this movie, so it wasn't really something I was really trying to seek out. 1999, kind of shot on video, Russian film. So I was like, the shot on video intrigues me, but I've seen this movie on, very extreme horror film lists and shit like that, and I was like, okay, so maybe check it out, and forgot all about it. What do you know? I get a fucking Patreon pick for this movie. So basically, The Green Elephant is about these 2 characters that are they're in like a Russian military prison. And the film starts out with these 2 guys just kind of shooting the shit. And, like I said, it's shot on video. And it's so fucking crazy for like the first 20 minutes before you're like, okay, where the fuck is this shit going? It feels so natural and real. It's fucking creepy, man. It's like literally these 2 guys just talking about everything. Like there's no real narrative to this movie at all. It's about these 2 guys that are in this sharing this prison cell, and it's really gross. Like, I don't know if this is what Russian military jail cells are like. I hope they're not, because that's just not human. It's inhumane to put people into shit like this. It's really fucking gross. But these guys are like, don't have anything better to do than just talk to each other, and they start talking about random things, and one thing leads to another and stuff, and then they start arguing and blah blah blah. And like 25 or 30 minutes into the film, we finally get a shot outside of the jail cell, and it's just involving these military officers and stuff like that, and we kind of get introduced to them that way. It's just like a shot of these guys talking, and it goes back to into this jail cell. And that's pretty much what the entire film is. So, I'm about a half an hour into this movie going, what the fuck is, like, what is going to happen in this film? It's just like ridiculous. I'm just watching these 2 dudes talk in Russian. I'm reading subtitles about every subject from fucking A to Z. I'm like, this is ridiculous. So then they start kind of arguing, and there's this one kind of bigger guy in there, and this other dude that seems to have his head on straight and stuff. And he's kind of listening to this guy, and he's talking about how he's going to he's talking about weird shit like shitting and stuff like that. And then, the one skinnier dude, he falls asleep up on this bed and stuff. And then essentially this other guy, he just starts losing his mind. I think it's what the director is trying to show, like, you know, what these prison cells do to people and shit. But this kind of fatter guy just starts losing his mind, and he's like, just whips down his pants and he shits into this bowl, and then he fucking like rubs this shit all over his chest. And I think it's real shit too. I think he actually really shit, because like there's a close up of his dick and balls and his asshole, and he's fucking shitting. And it does cut though, but I don't know if he's rubbing the shit all over himself. But anyways, he rubs it like all over his chest, and he's just acting all like he's losing his fucking mind. Like this guy's lost his shit inside the jail cell. Anyways, the other guy freaks out and he's like, dude, what the fuck? Like, I can't share a cell with you, blah, blah, blah. He calls over the guard. This guy comes in, he's like, what the fuck are you doing? Blah, 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 and shit. And it's just like, it's just going on and on and on like this. I'm like, oh my God, this guy's rubbing fucking shit all over himself. I'm like, where is this going and shit? So it keeps going on and on and on like this for a while and stuff. And then, you know, basically something happens with the other character, and then the third act happens, and then it kind of goes batshit from there. You know, some people end up getting killed, torn apart, and it turns into this really kind of brutal, kind of gore fest type deal and shit like that. It's just very strange and odd. And, man, I hated this movie from the, you know, basically I was actually kind of enjoying it for like the first like 10-15 minutes. So I'm like, okay, this dialogue's kind of interesting. It feels super, super real, but then it just doesn't really change that mode. I mean, it does change a little bit. It kind of gets unbelievable and stuff, but it doesn't progress itself at all. And then I feel like the third act just kind of goes into it for major shock value. Like there's like man on man rape, and there's like lots of gore and shit, and there's just like all this crazy shit that's happening, but it just wasn't enough to save it from the first like hour of the movie. It was just like, oh my God, what the fuck? Like, when is this shit gonna end? It was just absolutely abomination, man. It was really terrible to watch. Obviously shot on video is not gonna be the best quality. It wasn't actually the worst shot on video film, because again, this is shot in 1999. The quality of film and tape and shit like that was a lot better than the stuff we were watching in the 80s. So the shot on video films later 90s actually looked a little bit better. But it's just like a no budget, pointless fucking movie. It just feels beyond pointless to me. You know how like some people can watch like August Underground and be like, oh God, it's just like so pointless, or like a Loser Valentine film like Regurgitated Sacrifice, and be like, oh, it's so fucking pointless. But at least in those films, like you can if you dive hard enough, you can find something in there, metaphorical or whatever. Maybe find something just in your own brain and stuff. But in this shit, you're not finding nothing. It's just everything that's happening is for the sake of just shock value, pure shock value, and it's just not exciting. That's the problem with it. Some of the gore effects actually weren't too bad and stuff, but man, oh man, this is one of the worst movies I think I've ever seen in my life. Honestly, this is. I never like to say films are just completely pointless, but at the end of the day, I'm like, if he's just trying to showcase, you know, like rough military jails and stuff, he did a good job with that. Otherwise, I'm not pulling anything out of this. And, you know, sometimes you don't need to pull shit out of movies and stuff for them to be entertaining, but at the same time, or to like them. But this one, you know, just not entertaining at all. Oh, man. I haven't been so disgusted with a movie. Like, even watching Loser Valentine films, like, those are more watchable than this, because at least they're edited well. Like, this has the most brutal, bad editing in it, and it's just terrible all around. There's no type of technical aspects in here even worth noting. It's just a bad, pointless film. 0.5 out of 10, because we don't give zeros. It's fucking terrible. It's fucking awful. There's literally nothing to say about it, because there's nothing that happens, man. Like, it's just gross. Literally, this guy is scraping a fucking toilet with a fork that's caked in dry shit. He's making this guy do this, and I'm like, okay, like, why? He's already in this fucking gross jail, so why are you making him do this shit? And it just goes nowhere. Oh my God, so bad, so bad. So at the end of the day, I do not recommend this. Do not ever watch The Green Elephant, because even if you like bad movies, this is beyond bad. It's not a movie. It's not even a fucking movie. There's no narrative. It's stupid. It's bad. It's pointless. I'm sorry that I have to destroy your pick like that, but I mean, just being honest.
Jeez.
I mean, all right. It was shittier. It's shitty in more ways than one. I mean, the guy was literally rubbing shit on his chest.
Yeah, it sounds horrible.
And eating shit. He was eating shit. So, what the fuck is... Come on, you guys. Like, puking and fucking oh my God, you guys, with all these movies lately. Oh, I'm so desensitized to everything. Like, it's just, like, I'm not even shocked by this. I'm just like, oh, when is it going to end? Fuck. Anyways, that is what we watched.
Hey yo, it's about that time for the 22 Shots crew to get buck wild and do what we do. You got that fatty in hand, so throw us a few, and we gon' hit your ass up with a bonus review. Yeah.
Alrighty, so before we get into the featured reviews, we're going to get into this bonus review, which is also a Patreon pick, and we're assholes again, because I don't know who the fuck sent this one in. Do you have any idea?
No, I don't, actually.
Apologize once again, even though I kind of saved my grace on what we watched, but I'm not sure who sent in Antichrist. I don't think I ever even knew. But yeah, so Antichrist from 2009 bonus review, directed by, of course, the one and only Lars von Trier, who is a director from Denmark. He's done lots and lots of movies. He's known for Melancholia, recently Nymphomaniac 1 and 2, Dogville. What else has he done?
The House That Jack Built.
The House That Jack Built. That was very, very recent. Actually, that's the most recent film. But yeah, he's a very kind of, you either love him or you hate him type director. He makes a lot of movies based on, in a sense, his almost personal aspects of, his personal life and stuff. I mean, this movie right here, Antichrist, I think was considered to be the first film in his, like, Depression trilogy. All right, so I think Antichrist in 2009, he did Melancholia in 11, and of course Nymphomaniac 1 and 2 and 13, I believe, and stuff. So, if you're not totally familiar with Lars von Trier, he's a very artsy director, but he also struggles with depression and stuff. And Antichrist was one of those interesting films that he had literally just got out of the depression hospital or whatever. He was in there for mental hospital, actually. He was in there for a couple months. And he had wrote an Antichrist, at that time and stuff. And, I don't even think I don't think he was 100% sure he was even going to do it and stuff. But he decided to do the film, obviously. And, he literally just got out of there. And he was still so fucked up that, like, he couldn't even hold the camera. So he had to get, like, a DP to, basically shoot the film for him and stuff. Because I think on his other films, I think he actually does direct and shoot the films and stuff. And I think that's why this movie actually kind of looks a little bit different at times, too. But, it's a little bit of background to, the whole depression angle of this film and stuff. It's very much coming from a personal aspect of his life and stuff. And, quick little synopsis. A grieving couple retreat to their cabin in the woods, hoping to repair their broken hearts and troubled marriage. But nature takes its course and things go from bad to worse. This movie is starring the amazing William Dafoe, of course, who just probably should have won tons and tons of awards for The Lighthouse because he actually knocked that out of the park. But one thing about William Dafoe I've always found super intriguing about his career is that this guy is not afraid to take chances with his films. Like, he will do the most artsy-fartsy type film. He's done films all over the place in his career, man. Like from, the early 80s and shit to, doing mainstream Spider-Man movies and shit to, Antichrist to fucking The Lighthouse. I love actors that have this type of range that aren't actually pigeonholed. They're not like, they look at William Dafoe as like a really exuberant and wide range actor and stuff. He just doesn't get pigeonholed into doing these Hollywood films and stuff. And I love that about him, man, how he can really adapt to these type of films. It just shows his range, and it really does show in this film. He's just so great. So what's your thoughts on Antichrist? First time watch for you?
Yeah, I've heard a lot about it.
So this is the third time I've watched this movie. I watched it when it came out, shortly after it came out in 2009. I think it came on Netflix around 2010 or something. It was actually on Netflix, believe it or fucking not. It's hard to believe this movie was actually on there, but that's the first time I watched it. Then I got the Blu-ray years ago, which I don't even have anymore. I came to this conclusion because we actually weren't going to do this movie this week as a bonus review. We're going to do something else. And then I was like, well, let's do Antichrist. And then I went to go grab my Blu-ray, and I'm like, it's fucking not here. What the fuck? Like, I have a house sitter who's very eccentric. She's an artsy. It's kind of funny. She's a very eccentric person. She's an artist. who's eccentric. I mean, who would have thought, right? And she loves to watch very artsy. Every time I come home from holidays, I can always tell what movies she's watched. 'Cause sometimes she leaves them out, she doesn't really put them back because she's weird like that. And she knows how much it bugs me, I guess, my OCD. But anyway, she always watches like these real artsy fartsy films. And she actually borrowed Antichrist and never got it back from her. So I'm going to have to get that back from her. Hopefully she still has it. But yeah, I had to watch this online, even though I own it. So anyways, the point is my third time watching it. So
yeah, I actually own the Criterion too, so I was actually happy this came up, especially since I'm going through my collection of sealed stuff, and this was sealed. Yeah, I don't own a ton of Criterions, but this was like the last one that I hadn't watched in my collection. I think I still have Rosemary's Baby that I technically haven't opened either, but I've seen that film a couple times. So this film to me, one, I was very interested to see because of how much I had heard about it. I heard it's a very disturbing film. I heard that it's a very depressing film.
See, that's what I always found was so intriguing about this movie. I don't know if it's, again, going back to the whole desensitization of just my reality because I've seen so much over the years and stuff, but that was the thing going into Antichrist. Everyone's like, 2009, 2000, like, man, Antichrist is crazy, dude. Like, it's so extreme. It's fucking nuts. It's weird. It's like, it's trippy. It's psychological and all this type of stuff. And there's scenes in there that are going to just make you cringe and stuff. And I'm like, I remember the first time I watched it, I was like, okay, yeah, that's fucked up. But like, I don't think it's overly that extreme, man. There's like maybe 2 scenes that are like, that kind of make you go, oh, okay.
Well, I mean, I've seen stuff that's way more extreme than this by this point and stuff like that. But I'm gonna be honest, like, it actually still got to me, some of the scenes, like, and just the whole narrative of this film. And I think it's because of how grounded in reality it feels. It doesn't feel like shocking to be shocking. It doesn't feel like over the top in any way to me. It feels very much grounded.
See, when you describe it as grounded in reality, it's kind of funny that you mention that too, because that's actually one of the issues I've had with it. Actually, one of the issues I had with the film watching it this time, I never really noticed this before, but like, in a sense, because obviously there's a lot of metaphorical things that are happening in this film that are just happening in his eyes and stuff, which is kind of set in his own, it's set in reality, but it's kind of, he's having these moments with nature and stuff like that are obviously part of his reality and stuff. But and I love all that stuff, so it's not technically like grounded. I think your term of grounded in reality is a little bit different than what I'm explaining right now. But
I think not necessarily the narrative, but like the violence and the
see, that's what I figured that you meant. But okay, so it's just kind of funny that you brought that up, because it was something I wanted to mention. But I just feel like one of my major issues with this film is actually the way it's shot. And generally that's one thing I love about these type of artsy films. They're always shot so elegantly, and they're shot according to the narrative and stuff. And I feel like the way this movie is shot doesn't work for the reality that this movie is set in, because it's kind of set in this like his alternate reality. Like, he's obviously dealing with some of this, the women and nature stuff, but the way the movie is shot is kind of shot documentary style at times. It's kind of shot like in a realistic type way, with the zooming and the panning and stuff like that. And it feels like it's almost like a found footage film at times, which it's totally not. It's handheld, it's got that quick zooming and stuff, and it has that type of thing. And I just feel like the filming technique used for this narrative, it doesn't really work for me, especially after watching it for a third time. I think that it could have used a little bit more, not like static shots and stuff, but just not the handheld, just more, just more grounded shots, I guess, really, than using the handheld and using that zoom technique and that quick little, almost like, the panning, the handheld panning and stuff. And I just feel like it doesn't work for this narrative as much as I, originally thought it did. Maybe I just didn't really notice until this watch, but I found myself focusing on that a lot and being like, man, it doesn't feel right to me. I feel like it's off. And then I learned that Von Trier actually didn't even he actually didn't shoot this film. Like, he kind of directed and stuff, but he wasn't the one holding the camera. And I was like, that's really interesting. So, but
see, for me, I actually like the way that it's shot. I felt like it was very intimate feeling the entire time, which is, what this film is. So it actually worked for me. I don't know how it would work on rewatch, because I'm gonna be honest, I didn't put much thought into it when I was watching it, other than like thinking about it now. I was like, it felt very close.
I figured this might be the case with it, because I figured, your first time watching, just me seeing it for a third time, it's just something, like I said, I didn't really even notice it before, right? It was just kind of working for me. But this time around, I was like, wait a minute, this actually is not working for this type of narrative for me. I just feel like it felt like too, I don't want to use the word found footage, but just too like almost reality, like too documentary style. For me, it was just weird. It was throwing me off this time, man. It was really kind of strange.
What, man? Okay, so like some of this film is shot like awesome too. Like even like the opening is shot completely different from like the other parts of the film.
Well, actually, yeah, it's funny that I'm glad you brought that up, because the prologue and the epilogue are actually shot in black and white. Mm-hmm. Right, which is a cool way. And another thing to add to that too, this movie is actually told in 4 different parts. Which is told in like chapter 1. It's in 4 different chapters, and they're all named.
There's like
grief, pain, despair, genocide.
Prologue, grief, pain,
despair, genocide, and the 3 beggars, and then it goes into the epilogue and stuff. And so, but yeah, like the opening scene to this movie is like, it's very, very, very artsy. It tells.
I actually love the opening.
Yeah, me too, man.
It instantly sucked me in, because I was like, what the fuck? And then like you see like actual penetration, and I was like, whoa. I was like, what the hell?
Which I've always wondered if that was actually them, or they just if he hired 2 other actors to have a full penetration. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if it was them that did that, but I mean, you don't get to see their faces in that time, but that is penetration. That's dick and pussy. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I'm like, what? Where the hell is this going? And then you think that it's just like sort of like a lovemaking scene that's artsy and like going to set up the film, but it actually has like a shocking moment to it, and I was like, wow, like I didn't expect that at all.
It's a great setup, man, because in the first like 3-4 minutes of this movie, it tells a lot. It showcases their relationship. It has a very, very disturbing moment with their child unfortunately passing away, and and it goes into like it's crazy how much he packed into like 3 minutes, and it sets up the film like perfectly, man. It's really well done, and I like that. And you know me, man. I've mentioned this many, many times on the podcast that I'm not a huge fan of long, extended slow-mo scenes. And like this is like 4 or 5 minutes of like slow-mo. Yeah. It's like slow-mo fucking. It's slow-mo baby playing by a window. It's slow-mo fucking Eric Clapton Tears in Heaven. I'm just waiting for that shit to happen, The listeners will get that one, especially Derek. Eric Clapton lost his baby, fell out of a window, and made the song called Tears in Heaven because his son died like that. Yeah. So it's very reminiscent to what happens here and stuff. And but I think he does a really, really fantastic job of setting up not only their relationship to where it was, to where it goes, and the grief and the depression and stuff like that in a matter of like 4 minutes. But it's black and white, which is cool because they made it black and white. Right. And I love that. I love the way it's a perfect setup, man. Really good.
One of those thing, what's fucking weird is the most disturbing thing in this film to me is not probably what anybody else would pick, but like it's the scene where Defoe falls asleep with his hand out the window and it's fucking covered in ticks.
Yep.
That just fucking creeps me out more than anything. We have a lot of ticks around here, like a lot. Like we're very high populated in ticks. I get them on me all the time, like every year, a couple of them. But with Lyme's disease and just like those deer ticks, the white ones that like when they fill up with blood, it just fucking made me cringe, dude.
I didn't know ticks would do that though, man. If you just like had your hand outside for
I don't think that's reality that
I was like,
are gonna hop on
I didn't think so either, but I was like, man, could that actually, like, I wasn't 100% sure because I'm not really too familiar with ticks like that. I'm like, man, but if I woke up, my hand was hanging outside a window and I looked at it and it had all these like white, I'd fucking freak out too, man. That's disgusting,
dude. That scene like literally disturbed me. Like I keep like having mental visions of it and it bothers me. But yeah, I don't know, man. I was just so damn into this movie, and I'm like, wow. I was like, where is this going? It gets. I think that the sexuality in this movie is just so damn raw. it's kind of it's. I think it's important to see stuff like this sometimes because it's dirty sex. It's not like this like love like hot sex. It's fucking gross. You know what I mean? Like like even the girl when she's like furiously like masturbating like in the fucking forest. It's like ugh, you know.
Yeah. I think he does a really good job with really kind of setting up the narrative, like metaphorically wise and stuff. Like all the visions. Like, I mean, essentially what happens here, William Dafoe decides to take his wife out to their cottage that's literally like in the middle of the forest. Like, it's crazy. Like, there's no...
By the way, I didn't realize that was his wife until like further into the film, because I had thought that somehow I thought that he was just her therapist, especially because he's like not wanting to have sex with her. You know what I mean? Because like, you know, it's a major part of the actual the narrative that he's trying to tell, right? But it is. But I eventually figured it out.
Yeah, it is interesting. You know, it's. I like this idea. You know, it sets it up with this kind of very dramatic opening scene with them losing their child and stuff, and then she's obviously dealing with it very, very roughly. I mean, he is too, right? But she's really kind of fallen into this really kind of deep depression, and he wants to get her out of it, right? So I'm not even 100% sure exactly what his occupation really is, but he kind of plays.
No, he's a therapist.
Is he actually a therapist in it?
Yeah. He takes on her.
Yeah, that's right. He is too. Okay.
After it's not working.
That's right. And I don't know why I just completely slipped my mind that he actually was, but yeah. So he takes her out there and he wants to essentially try a whole pile of different techniques and stuff and try to get her out of this slump that she's in and stuff. I mean, when you're dealing with grief and death like that, everyone gets over it in different ways, right? And stuff. And, you know, it's kind of interesting because he's dealing with it too, but, you know, he's also dealing with a lot of different things also within, you know, the sexual aspect of his relationship with her, right? It's kind of weird when like therapists are trying to, you know, help somebody out with one thing, but they're dealing with something themselves. I really like that contrast in the film because it really does make a really interesting case for just the human psyche, man. Like it's hard to deal with things when you're going through such shit yourself too. But I love that, man. I love the way Von Trier really uses the visuals in this film because, you know, everything seems to be going okay. You know, he's dealing with his wife and, you know, she's going through steps of grief, right? I mean, this is very typical in people where they'll start to like kind of progress with you know, with their depression and stuff, and then they'll have like they'll just digress hardcore, and then they'll start blaming you for everything, and that's really how the human mind works, right? You know, you have these periods of like anger where you just want to, like, there's a scene in the film where she basically starts to blame him for everything, like the reason why all this shit happened and stuff, and I like that he showed that because that's reality. People do that, even though she knows that he wasn't responsible for their son's death. She still blames him, kind of thing, right? It's just the way the grief process works. I really enjoy that. But there's this, you know, really great scene where, you know, he's out in the forest, which is kind of cool, man, because there's like no road entry into this. They actually had to hike into this, and I love that because they're like right in the middle of into the forest. So like in nature's womb, essentially, as I think is what he's trying to say, and he just starts seeing like all this crazy shit. Like he sees this fucking deer kind of standing there, and then the deer runs away and it's got like this fetus hanging out her. And you're just like, what the fuck, man? It's crazy. And then there's multiple scenes like that shit. Actually, the one scene in this film that kind of fucks me up, man, is when the baby bird falls out of the nest and it lands in the red ant pile. And then,
because it's a complete freaking metaphor for their baby. It's
exactly, but what's disturbing about the scene is that the baby bird opens up his eyes and then this fucking bird like comes and just starts ripping it apart. You're like, Jesus Christ, man! Like those visuals are just so fucking powerful because it just keeps replaying the metaphor over and over again, right? It's just like, holy fuck, man. But you know, it's dealing with, you know, lots of things in that aspects, man. I mean, I think what he's trying to say is actually quite strong. I mean, dealing with, you know, primal nature and, you know, female sexuality is just so prevalent in this film, right? The whole primal nature thing is really interesting. I think it's pretty obvious what's going on here, and he's dealing with the female sexuality and stuff because he wants to be overpowering. I mean, there's a point in the film where he even says that he wants to harm her, and he's using this as a way not to be. Where I know this film has been very much projected as being a very misogynistic type film, right? Because there are scenes in there where he's like, he wants to hurt her and things like that and stuff. And I think it's complete bullshit. I don't think the film is misogynistic at all. I mean, in a sense, because he's really dealing with the female sexuality and that the human nature of that aspect in a different way. And I don't think that's what Von Trier was trying to say at all. I don't think he was trying to create that type of misogyny in the male character at all. But I don't know, man. I don't know. How do you see that? Because I honestly don't believe that's what he was trying to say. I know this movie was very heavily criticized for that, and I'm like, I don't see that at all.
No, I definitely don't. I never really buy into that stuff, honestly.
I mean, because he was saying those things, but I mean, he was also using it as techniques to, I mean, it's funny how what certain techniques work when you're dealing with someone's grief and stuff and depression, things that'll actually work them and get them out of that funk, and stuff. And I think the things that he was saying, like, oh, I want to hurt you and things like that, it's just all a way of, trying to power through it and stuff. And I don't think it's being misogynistic at all. I think that's complete bullshit. I hate when films kind of turn to that. There's been so many films over the years that have used that term, and I'm like, I don't fucking see it, man. I really don't see it in the film. So, but yeah.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, I mean, I think that this film overall is very enjoyable. I didn't quite get. I know there's a lot of stuff that I didn't get because I was doing a little bit of research, like reading what people's interpretations were, and I was like, oh, okay, I see that. Very interesting stuff, but I can't say that I put it all together myself. But yeah, I think there's definitely a point to most of the stuff in the film, and it all seems to be very metaphorical with everything pretty much. But man, I'll tell you what, dude, like that scissor scene was like very graphic, and I didn't expect that. I was like, holy crap, it looks so real.
I've still had a hard time figuring out exactly why she does that to herself too. I mean, considering what I think he's trying to do, like he's dealing with our main character here is fears of like primal nature and stuff like that. I mean, that's obviously prevalent there. And the obvious, he's not really in tune with the female sexuality and stuff. But why would she fucking mutilate herself? I've never really been able to figure out that part. I understand the other aspects of the sexuality shown on screen and stuff. But why do you think that she does it?
I think I read why, but I totally forget what it was.
I've never actually looked into it. It's always something that's been like, there's obviously a deeper meaning there. I don't know. I'm sure Watson can figure that out, but I've always wondered why. Because, I mean, it's just self-mutilation. I mean, maybe it's a byproduct of her depression. I have no idea. It's just one of those things I think you can probably interpret a lot of different ways, too.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into ratings on this one. I try to stay a little bit spoiler free since I think it is a film that people should check out. I'll go first. I like this film a lot. I think that there's a lot to offer here. I think that it actually did shock me in a few ways. It's just even some of the like even that like stone whale thing with the bolt on it was just disturbing to me. It was like very visceral feeling.
That part always bugs me in this film because I feel like he wastes more energy dragging himself out of there with that thing fucking bolted to his shin than it would be to just try and remove it and then get away that way. Like, I mean, eventually he tries to remove it and does kind of thing, but like, why doesn't he fucking just try to remove that shit? I know, I understand.
I think he does try to. He just doesn't have a wrench or anything. He tries to do it with his hands. But
I feel like he just like once he wakes up, he's just like, oh fuck him, and then he realizes he's in trouble because she's probably up to kill him, kind of thing. But like he doesn't really attempt. He just like, I need to get the fuck out of here, kind of. Maybe that's what the point is. He's just he's scared of her, and stuff. But I don't know, man. Me personally, I'd be like, I need to get this shit off first because I'm probably not going to go too far with this fucking huge fucking cast iron wheel through my shin. Like, what the fuck, man? I don't know. That shit would be painful as fuck.
Yeah. So I came in at a 9 out of 10.
Yeah, man, this is a really good film. After watching it 3 times, there's still obviously questions that are there, but it's still really good, man. I think my biggest complaints is just the cinematography at times kind of grits on me. I just feel like it doesn't fit the narrative as well as it could be done, I guess. I don't know. It's just something that I'm not trying to nitpick with. It's just something that I actually noticed and kind of was bugging me throughout this. But I think there's a lot of heavy metaphors and a lot of heavy content here that really needs to be seen by people. I think it's a really interesting film. And William Dafoe just knocks us out the park. Actually, the girl that stars in this film, too, I'm not sure exactly what her name is. I can't remember. What is it? Charlotte Gainsborough? I think she's French. I believe that she's French. No, she's from England. Holy fuck, she's actually English? Jesus, I thought she was French playing in English. I don't know. She just looks French to me, I guess. But she, basically 2 characters in this film, and, they knock it right out the park. But the visuals are awesome. The effects are awesome in it. And it's definitely worthy of that 9 out of 10. That's what I'm in at also. So
awesome.
Yeah, good film.
And now, our feature presentation.
Alrighty, so moving on to the featured reviews here on episode 176. Was the first one of these was just the Patreon pick, right? We turned this into...
Yeah, Black Devil Doll from Hell was a Patreon pick.
Okay, so that's the first film up here. Directed by Chester Novell Turner, of course, from 1984, shot on video, semi-classic. This is very well known for a bunch of different reasons, which is Black Devil Doll from Hell. It was a very, very rare VHS. Not as rare, I guess, as his second film and last film that he did, Tales from the Quadead Zone. But Chester Novell Turner it's kind of like an interesting story because like there's not really a whole lot known about him. It's very strange because like he did this movie Black Devil Doll from Hell in 1984, shot on video. Then he came back with a film in 87, like an anthology film called Tales from the Quadead Zone, and then like literally disappeared. Like I remember reading stuff on this guy years ago, and people on forums were like, what the fuck ever happened to this guy? Like no one had any information on him. Like, he literally just like fell off the face of the earth. And then there was like this fake report that came out in like 1996 saying that Chester Novell Turner had died in a car accident. And so that was kind of what it was. Like he died, and then he like showed up later, like in the 2000s somewhere, and be like, motherfuckers, I ain't dead. Right? This is kind of fucking strange. Like, I don't know if that added to why his films were going for so much on the the third party market and stuff, but his VHS tapes were very, very well known. Tales from the Quadead Zone being that tape at one point had sold for $666. There's only like 4 or 5 known in existence. It's like this kind of this crazy nostalgia, fucking whole mystique around these films and shit. But Black Devil Doll from Hell. From 1984, shot on video. Synopsis: a woman buys a doll at a magic shop. Fuck. Unbeknownst to her, the doll is possessed by an evil spirit and proceeds to take her over. Okay, so Black Devil Doll from Hell, man, is like it's like a stereo fucking typical, just awful shot on video film that is just immense in padding. I know even the distributor that wanted to put this movie out even made them pad the fucking opening credits And it's something I've noticed forever. And I remember I was reading this last night when I was watching this film, just in some of the facts on the film. And it said, I think it was like one of the first things is that they actually they came up with the music for the film just to pad the credits, just to add more time to this. And I'm like, pad this fucking thing. This fucking movie is dubbed as being 70 minutes on here, but the DVD is like 87 minutes. I'm like, you had to pad this with a shitty ass Casio fucking keyboard track that literally I think is not even made on there either. I think it's one of the pre-programmed beats that's in there too. It's like so fucking funny, but that's what I always remember from watching these Chester Novell Turner films is like he obviously used the same Casio keyboard to make the music for these films because it's literally like the same sounds. It's so bad and so repetitive. It's just ridiculous. But I think he had a pretty good idea here, having like a possessed doll that kind of starts slowly taking over this very religious black woman. This movie is actually noted as being one of the very last blaxploitation films from that whole blaxploitation type craze and stuff, which I'm not entirely sure if that's true. If it's actually noted as being the last one from that era. I know they came later and stuff too, but probably is. I mean, 84 seemed pretty late for blaxploitation films and stuff, but it's funny because our main character here is, this church-going girl, and she just walks into this shop one day and buys this doll, and we get this like ridiculous backstory from the shop owner that tells her the whole story about this doll, how this doll has like it's probably evil and possessed and things like that, and because everyone that's bought this thing, it's somehow found its way back to the shop each and every single time and stuff. She's like, whatever, thinks twice about it, and then ultimately takes it home. This thing basically comes alive, fucking attacks her, and then just starts essentially sexing her up and stuff. It's like the most ridiculous storyline, but oh man, talk about fucking just watching 87 minutes of padding. It's ridiculous. I don't know how the fuck you can make a movie called Black Devil Doll from Hell and have like no damn kills in the fucking movie. There's literally no kills in this movie, man. It's ridiculous. The movie is essentially like a softcore porno. I'm not even joking. Like once this doll attacks her, and at first she starts having like these visions because the doll is kind of possessing her to be very sexual and stuff, and then he ultimately attacks her. She has sex with this doll, and the doll ends up leaving her. But what happens is it kind of changed her perspective on sex, and now she can't be pleased by anybody else but this doll. So she kind of goes out of her way, and like she she sets out to find this doll and shit. But wouldn't that have been the perfect opportunity to essentially have her kind of go crazy and start killing people instead of going to like a disco and just dancing and shit and like being displeased by all these other suitors that are trying to sex her up and shit? Like, where the fuck are the kills in this movie, man? It's a fucking softcore porn with a fucking black doll. What the fuck? Oh, man. So, what are your thoughts on this one?
Which version did you watch?
The DVD version, like the 87-minute version.
87 minutes. That would be an hour and
27 minutes.
27. Okay. Well, maybe you should have watched the hour and 10-minute version because that's less padding.
Yeah, I mean, I know there is those different versions, but like I said, I have the DVD. Like I have the box set from Massacre Video and stuff. So that's what they put the extended cut on there, which is there's so much more padding. I don't remember. I've seen the short version before, but do they have the long like 6-7 minute opening credit scene with the music and shit?
I didn't watch the shorter version.
Oh, you watched?
Well, I'm just saying that. Maybe because
I'm pretty sure if my memory serves me correctly, which it doesn't very often, but I think the scene like where after the doll leaves her and stuff, I think the scene where she's at the club, I don't think that's in the shorter version, man. I swear that's not in the shorter version, but it doesn't really matter. We watched the longer version anyways, but so much fucking padding. But like, I don't know how this thing could be dubbed as a horror film.
Weird, man?
There's no fucking kills in it, man. Literally no fucking kills.
Yeah, but you don't need kills for it to be considered horror.
But there's opportunities,
I actually
man.
really like this movie. I'm not gonna lie.
No,
I really didn't realize that there wasn't any kills or that it was padded. I've never seen this before, so that helps for one. But like, for example, when she goes and gets the doll and then brings it back, she's religious and very reserved and abstains from sex and stuff like that. And she brings the doll into the bathroom or whatever, and then she strips down and the camera's at her feet. And I, like, in my head, I'm like, oh, of course they're not going to show this older black lady naked. Like, I didn't expect them to. Especially when they shoot it, you know, how they, you know, shoot when you're not going to do a nude scene in the bathroom where you, like, leave the camera down at their feet and their clothes fall down. That's how you don't shoot a nude scene in the bathroom, you know? Like, usually you could tell if it's going to be a nude scene in the bathroom because of, you know, if the camera is at the feet or not. And so then, like, when the doll's, like, looking at her while she's in the shower, I literally, like, did not expect for all of a sudden the shower curtain to be pulled open and her to be soaping up her boobs and stuff. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I didn't expect this at all. And then the doll's, like, watching. I'm like, what kind of movie is this? And then, you know, it got crazier and crazier. And I was like, dude, this is the sleaziest damn shot on video movie I ever seen. I like this. Yeah. It's a doll sex movie. Like, I did not know that. I thought it was going to be like a Zuni fetish doll, like knockoff shitty shot on video version.
Yeah, dude, it's basically a softcore porn with a fucking possessed doll. It's essentially what it is, man. But it's always comes off as being dubbed as a horror film, but like I always said though, man, there's great opportunities because once the doll leaves her, she should go on a rampage. It would have been great to have her go on a rampage and fucking kill some people. That's what I was always missing.
Well, I mean, the doll rapes her. That's like pretty horrific.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, just having, you know, it's like a great opportunity though, man. Like, she needs that doll, and like she will do anything to get that doll back because the doll is the only thing that can please her. Hey, let's start chopping up motherfuckers at the disco and shit. I don't know, but yeah, no, you're right though. It is it's very, very sleazy. It's funny to watch because you know the funny thing is though, dude, I don't think Shirley L. Jones, the girl that plays the lead in this film, I don't think she's that old though, man. I think she just looks old. I honestly don't think that she's that old.
Yeah, I think they make her seem like older.
Yeah, I think she is young. Because when you see her in Tales from the Quadead Zone, which she's like the storyteller, she's the mom in the film, and she's also stars in the last short and stuff. She's like obviously not that old, right?
Yeah, but she's playing older. Yeah. And the director actually started dating her.
Oh, really?
Yeah, did you not read that? Yeah, he started dating her after this film.
That's funny. Well, because he got her naked, and he's like, oh, I can fuck with that.
Yeah. But no, I mean, yeah, it's a pretty basic. I mean, dude, honestly, like, I don't know if you know this, but this was originally going to be a short in an anthology.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. So then the dude realized he filmed like a lot of footage and was like, hey, I can make a feature out of this. Dude, I don't know, like, it's I would never want to watch that. Like, there's no need to watch this again for me, really. But, like, for the experience, I was like, wow, that was something. I didn't expect that. And then it gets that whole, like, incest angle at the end. And I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, right.
But
yeah, it's fun, man. I like the one thing, you know, like how the dummies cornrows are, you know, basically attributed to Rick James. I'm like, that's fucking hilarious, man, because he's the super freak, right? He's fucking Mary Jane. I thought that was just so brilliant because, like, the sex fiend and that, you know, he was known as that and shit. I'm like, fuck, the devil doll actually was Rick James. Fucking hilarious, man.
And you mentioned the Casio keyboard or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know much about any of that, but that's funny because I was like, watching it, I was like, wow, this music's actually pretty good. Like, I wonder how he did this. I didn't expect there to be a music budget on this, but apparently it's just a pre-recorded track. I'm like, no wonder it sounds half decent.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking it is, man. I mean, you could obviously make your own type of synth beats and stuff on those things, but those tracks that are playing sound like the pre-programmed ones in there. Maybe they might have thrown in a couple like D minors and stuff like that. I don't know, but just to kind of like whore it up a little bit. I think that what they do in Tales from the Quadead Zone a little bit too. The music does change a little bit, and that it gets a little bit more horror sounding, but you can tell those sounds. Like that, you know, the hi-hats, like just those sounds are fucking straight Casio keyboards, because I remember having a Casio keyboard when I was a kid, and like those sounds you just never forget. You just know where they come from. It's like
I like them, damn it.
Anybody that knows and like it plays music or has fucked around with those stuff, you know the difference between keyboards. They just have certain sounds. Like if you had a rolling keyboard, like you can just tell some of the sounds that are on those things. It's really strange. But yeah, those are Casios, and it's very prevalent in shot on video films. You know, like there's lots of fucking shot on video films that have used like dumb beats on Casios because, let's face it, they don't have any money, and Casio keyboards are super cheap, right? So, Black Devil Doll from Hell is so fucking fun. When he jumps out and fucking basically jumps her and then rapes her and shit and then starts calling her a bitch and just totally being a fucking badass to her is so fucking funny, dude. If you think this shit is funny, man, you have to see Black Devil Doll, the remake that came out, I think in 2011 or 12.
Yeah, it was like 11.
I should have rewatched it to refresh my memory, but it is so fucking funny, dude. I think the storyline is essentially the same, but it's a white chick. It's a white girl that fucking buys this black doll, and the black doll,
more comedy.
The black doll, it's so funny, dude. The black doll is so racist in the movie. It's just like cracker this and crack. It's fucking. It's the most racist movie ever made. It's so funny. It's absolutely hilarious. But you got to kind of do that with that. I guess spruce it up a little bit. But yeah, man.
Yeah, there's not much else to this movie. I mean, there's literally like 4 scenes of note.
Yeah, 87 minutes and like just a lot of padding, man. There's a lot of extended scenes and shit. It's just really bad acting and stuff. But if you're a fan of shot on video films, and I mean, I think everybody that's into the genre and stuff should probably check out this film at least once, because it has that kind of strange history to it, with the expensive VHS tapes and the name and just this kind of weird history to it, man. You kind of need to check it out, right? You just need to check it out. So it's definitely not gonna be for everybody. I mean, even people of fans of shot on video films and stuff, even if you ever look up top 10 shot on video films, favorites or best of lists and stuff, you never see a song there. It's never on there. But I don't know, man. I recommend it, even though it's terrible.
What's your rating?
It's really bad, but I'm gonna come in at about a 4 out of 10, even though it's shot on video, man. It's not it's personally not one of my favorites, to be honest. It's entertaining for what it is. I think I've just seen it too many times. I've seen it like 4 or 5 times now, so it gets a little bit elongated for me. But
call me crazy, but I came in at a 6.
What the fuck? No fucking way. That's ridiculous.
I swear.
Yeah, I don't know. I bet you that 6 is going to turn into a 3 or 4 after. If you watch
factor, I was like, wow, this is fucking crazy, man. I didn't expect any of this.
I guess if you go into it not really knowing anything about it, but I mean, honestly, dude, come tell me what your rating is after 3 or 4 watches.
Okay.
I tell you one thing, it doesn't get better. And the other thing I will say, the Casio fucking. It gets a little bit bad after multiple watches. I was actually getting annoyed even last year watching. I was like, oh my god. So apparently there actually is another version. I'm not sure who put it out, but it's basically the full length film, the 87-minute version of it, but it's got a heavy metal soundtrack to it.
Jesus.
So I'm like, I would love to watch it with that, even though I love metal music, but I hate it in movies for some reason. In these type of movies, it drives me nuts. But I'd like to see how much it changes to watch it with that. I don't think it'd be kind of funny, but I don't know. But right. Yeah, that's Black Devil Doll from Hell.
If you like your terror adult and strong, welcome here, you can't go wrong. Dolls will kill, the dead will too. It's all right here to entertain you.
All right, so moving into the year 1987 with Chester Novell Turner's second and last feature called Tales from the Quadead Zone. We briefly talked about its history in the VHS world, but let's get into a quick little synopsis of this. Oh my god, what am I going to read here? It's an anthology film. Do we really need to say any more? It's an anthology film. Basically, the same girl that actually stars in the last film, Shirley L. Jones, stars in this one, and it kind of has like a wraparound story, but then turns into like the third story. She's basically this mother who has a dead son, and she decides that she's going to read some stories out of this huge horror storybook called Tales from the Quadead Zone. Literally, there's actually special effects in this. It's kind of funny. First story being what the fuck is it called? I think it's Food for Thought. I think that's what it's called. And it's basically about this family that has too many family members and not enough food, and somebody takes matters into their own hands at the dinner table. Yeah, I don't really know what he was thinking with this, because I feel like this one just doesn't even really end properly.
It doesn't even begin properly.
Isn't it fucking weird? Like, this has got to be the weirdest short to in an anthology film. I mean, okay, so let's start by saying this. Tales from the Quadead Zone only runs about an hour. It's about 1 hour long. The first story here, Food for Thought, is roughly 10, 12 minutes. It's the shortest one, which is probably a good thing, but I think they could have probably done a little bit more with this. It's basically, and it's odd too, it's actually kind of shocking to me. The very first time I watched Tales from the Quadead Zone, I was shocked by this, because so the first story starts and it's about a white family. I was like, there's fucking white people in this movie. I just was not expecting that. I don't know if you were shocked by that, but, you know, considering he does black exploitation type things, and, you know, he's, I'm assuming, which I don't even know. I'm assuming he's black, the director. Never seen a picture of him before.
I never even considered him not being black.
I know, like, I always assumed he was, but man, even saying this in a public forum, I'm like, shit, dude, I don't even actually know. I mean,
what's his name?
Because it's not like Chester Novell Turner. I mean, that sounds very black, to be honest, but it's not that uncommon that white directors would make black exploitation films. I mean, it's been done before.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, he's got to be black, I guess, but I don't know. Anyways, the first story actually is about this white poor family that, and the whole story takes place around this dinner table, and they have like 8 or 10 family members, and, you know, the father is saying grace, and he's like, thank you God for this food. We have like 10 people. We only have food for like 4 people. And shit, it's literally what they're saying and stuff. And then as soon as he says like amen, it's like a free for all. It's literally a fucking free for all for the food. So if you get in there fast enough and you get something to eat, you eat it, and while the other people that don't get food watch you and fucking despise you, kind of thing. That's like the whole thing. This one dude just kind of gets pissed off and he goes fucking all Columbine on his family and shit. It's ridiculous. That's it. Shoots a couple people and
should
then
have just kicked them out.
Yeah,
hey, you can't eat no food.
But that's the weird thing about the short, is that he shoots people and then there's like another dinner and then he shoots more people. And then all of a sudden it kind of goes in and explains like, this one girl's dead and she's like died on July 16th or something like that of gunshot wound to the head and stuff. And then it shows another one. It does that a couple times over. And then he died on this date in the gas chamber. That's it.
Dude, this short is fucking horrible. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's horrible. There's no fucking narrative. It's like that whole like dead.
I know
July 16th is fucking stupid too. I'm just
this might even be one of the worst shorts in an anthology, if not the worst short ever made. It's not even the fact that it's shot on video. That's besides the point. It's that the fact that JP just said there's no narrative at all. It doesn't even really start, doesn't really end. It's poorly. I don't know what the fuck they were thinking with this short. It's just crazy. So that's the first story. Food for thought. The second story is called The Brothers. And this one is probably the most horror thing he's even done, really. I mean, this one seemed definitely.
Fuck off! Black Devil Doll from Hell is scary.
Oh my god, it's not scary.
It's scary.
No, this one actually had decent horror elements to it. It's basically about this. It's called The Brothers for a reason. So there's this brother that has just died of a heart attack and stuff, and the other brother, who's been very jealous of him his whole life, he's kind of hated his brother because of certain reasons and stuff, calls up his homies to break into this funeral home and steal the body. And that's what they do. They meet up at this place, they break in, they steal his brother's body, they get back to his place, and the guys are like, what? Like, I don't know why they didn't have this conversation with him before they broke in, but they all of a sudden have the conversation after the fact. They've already brought this body back to this brother's house, and after like them drinking and celebrating that they stole this dead body, one of the brothers is like, "Yo, like, what are you gonna do with this body, man?" Right? Like, wouldn't you ask that question before the fact? But anyways, he's like, "Yo, man," he's like, "I'm gonna get fucking revenge." And they're like, "Oh, motherfucker, you sick!" And then of course they storm out of there like he's like
Yeah,
the sickest
you're
fucking
sick after we just stole the
you
dead
just
body.
stole a fucking corpse, and you're calling this guy sick because he just said the word revenge. And oh my god, some of the shit that happens.
What?
In short,
I mean, is there any other like what would have been an appropriate thing to do with the stolen dead body?
yeah, right. Like I don't know, man. I guess right, but just the lengths that he goes. Okay, so basically these guys leave, and then for the next 20 fucking minutes at least, because this short is around 35-40. It's the majority of the running time in this film, to be honest. For the next 20 minutes, we get to hear this guy all by himself curse his brother out for 20 fucking minutes about how shitty he was about breaking up his marriage and shit like that. And he just goes on and on and on, and he decides to dress him up like a clown, and he's going to bury him in this sacrilegious place because his brother had his hopes on being buried in this very prestigious grave, blah, blah, blah and stuff. And he's going to do all this shit and stuff. And then I don't know what the fuck happens, but I guess cursing out somebody for 20 ass minutes, saying, call him every bad name in the book and stuff, apparently reanimates them.
Well, it is a curse after all.
It is a curse, but it just happens after so long, and then he gets, so there's this family curse and stuff, but he gets reanimated, and then shit goes down from there. It's just fucking hilarious how it happens. Like this stupid ass shadow kind of comes into the screen, he gets reanimated, and it's like, it's on. But at least it has horror elements though, right?
Yeah, this one sucks too.
This is a very agitating short because of the cursing out for 20 minutes and just telling the story over and over again. But the thing that actually gets me the most about this isn't the fact that he's just cursing him out. It's the fact that he's laughing for 20 minutes. Ha 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 ha! I'm gonna bury you in this hole. Ha 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 ha! I'm gonna get you, brother. Ha 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 ha! You look like a clown, motherfucker. Ha 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 ha! No shit. That goes on for 20 minutes. Ha 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 ha! You can only fucking handle so much of that shit. I probably just annoyed everybody and they shut off the podcast, but try that for 20 fucking minutes, man. It's so bad. It is so bad and irritating and terrible. It's awful. Then we move to the third story, which is called Unseen Vision. Basically, it's about Shirley L. Jones, the mother at the beginning of the film, who's reading these stories to her dead son, who... Yeah, and her husband shows up at the house. He gets all pissed off because she's reading, these tales from the Quadead book to their son and stuff, and he takes the book and fucking starts beating on her and shit. Of course, she doesn't really like that too much.
Why was he upset?
I don't know, because I don't know. Apparently reading horror stories to a dead kid is not a good idea. I don't know why he was so pissed off. Maybe he's just pissed off at her in general. I don't know. But, he starts to beat on her and shit goes the other way against him and stuff. And I don't know. It
sucks too.
It's just really, really not great. There's this really, really weird parts in this one too with the son. When the son would like make really strange sounds, like when he was trying to talk. I guess that's the ghost sound of voice. I guess it was just like
the ghost sound of voice.
But every time he would make the ghost sound of voice, that makes no sense. But anyways,
the ghost sound of voice.
Yeah. So anyways, every time he would talk in this like ghostly voice or whatever the fuck it is, and her hair would like blow up on her head. It was like fucking bizarre. It's like he was just talking with this roaring voice. I don't know what the hell was going on with that shit, but this one is really, really bad overall and shit like that. I mean, there's a little bit of blood and stuff, and there's some decent acting. Actually, one of the cops actually isn't too bad in this. The cops end up showing up at this place because he calls the cops and stuff, and it's just like, okay. But then, of course, they had to pad that short with some time. They go back to this like ridiculous flashback scene with their son and stuff. I'm like, oh my god. Tales from the Quadead Zone, man, is known for being very rare. But I think there was a very good reason to why it was super rare.
Dude.
Even for shot on video, it is horrible. It's like, you just can't, it's an hour running time. You just can't wait for this shit to end, man. And even though the music is better in this than Black Devil Doll, because it actually changes keys and they actually use different pieces of music in this, that's about it, man. That is really, really about it, man. I've watched.
Dude, this fucking movie drags, and it's only like an hour long.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? Like, it's fucked up, man. I don't like to pad a scene of a dude just cursing out his brother for 20 minutes. This is fucking so fucking bad, man. Shut up, man. Shut the fuck up. Oh man, it's bad. It's just really, really bad. Like, I mean, it's it's watchable. But it's just, I don't know how you get any enjoyment out of Tales from the Quadead Zone. It's really bad, but
yeah,
that's it, man. There's really nothing else to it, man. Like, the wraparound story turns into the third story, and that's it. It's over. 62 minutes of your life wasted. In my case, that's 3 hours and 6 minutes now, because I think I've watched this movie like 3 times.
At least it was like a bonus feature on your disc, right? Isn't it like the bonus movie for Black Devil Doll?
No, it's a separate disc. It comes in that box set is 2 separate discs.
This was actually marketed as a double release and not like just. Yeah. I thought it was like Black Devil Doll and get the director's other film that he did as a bonus.
No, they're separate discs with the original artworks and stuff, and yep.
That is horrendous.
But when I got the set when it first came out, man, I think the set was only like $20. Like, even for Massacre Video, that was super cheap. Like, but it goes for ridiculous money now.
Super out of print. Yeah, you know what's funny? How sick I am. I actually wish that I owned this.
Yeah, well, it's kind of an interesting thing to own, because it's like, it's shot on video history, and honestly,
right, exactly, it's history.
Black Devil Doll from Hell is a very early shot on video film. I mean, Sledgehammer and a couple other, Boarding House are known as like the first couple, but this one is right around that time, 1984. It's very, very early, so it's part of that beginning and shit. So, I mean, really, you can't expect it to be great and stuff, but I mean, I would not I would recommend people check these out.
You should check out like the commentary on there. Didn't I get the director for the commentary?
I think there's a commentary. I can't remember. I should actually do that sometime. I should actually, if there is commentaries on there.
That's interesting to me to hear what the fuck this guy has to say about this shit.
I didn't even think about that when I popped these in to even look that there was a comment. I should have just watched the movies with the commentary, because I've seen them. A couple times.
Yeah,
you don't really need it.
Fucking missing anything.
Yeah, you don't really need just the audio one to understand what's going on. I mean, he's going to tell you everything is going on anyways, but yeah, that would have been a good idea, actually. That would have been a better way to watch these. Actually get some insight and some factoids on this shit. So I don't know if there's any on Tales from the Quadead Zone, but yeah, man. I mean,
all right. So Tales from the Quadead Zone. The first segment. Actually, probably my favorite segment, just because of how short and simple it was. But it still sucks. And then the second segment also sucks. The clown, the like transformation is kind of funny because of how like shitty the effect is, and how it's just like, like an overlay type thing. Mm-hmm. And then the third segment was just dumb and fucking meandering pointlessness as well. I don't have like anything good to say about this movie other than it's watchable, so I gave it a 1 out of 10.
Man, Shirley L. Jones, the one that starred in both films, she actually did the artwork for Tales from the Quadead Zone. That's always one thing I've loved about this. It just feels like that homegrown kind of, just straight up like gutter artwork that just really works. I love that shit, man. Just kind of designs. It's like she just did it one day. She's like, let's use this kind of drawing and stuff. It's like Schooly D's first couple of records, man, with he drew those album covers, kind of thing. It's awesome. I love that shit, man. So yeah, there was a sequel planned to this. It even says at the end of Tales from the Quadead Zone, part 2 coming or whatever the fuck it is, but it never materialized. I would actually like to know why that never materialized. Maybe because the 90s hit and they're like, maybe shot on video films aren't cool anymore. That's not really that true, but. The book was a Bible with a new cover put on. They just made that cover. It was actually a Bible. That's fucking hilarious, man.
I read that he spent like $10,000 on fucking Black Devil Doll.
I think it was $8,000. I think he somehow cost $8,000 to make that. I've read that somewhere too. But then I was wondering, like, how?
On I guess the fucking... Oh, it says that he paid the actor.
Oh, yeah. That's the other thing I actually knew about this. They paid all the actors in Tales from the Quadead Zone and on Black Devil Doll, too. So they paid everybody, and he said he never made $1 for me, but everyone else made money.
Well, he said he made $6 per VHS sold to, like, the Hollywood Video or something, but he said he never figured out how many they sold, so they probably just gave him like $6.
That's fucking just a standard one-time fee of $6, man. Oh my god, ketchup was used for the blood in the segment Food for Thought. That makes sense. You know, I mean,
that's like
that costs money.
That's like what a 10-year-old thinks to do when they're making their shot on video movie in the backyard.
You know, man, if I was making a shot on video film back in the day,
it's corn syrup and food coloring.
Yeah,
it's not that hard to make fucking blood.
But then again, when you're shooting shit on video, you can use ketchup because you can't tell because the video is so bad, right? But you don't really have to pay for that. Just go to McDonald's and ask for ketchup. They probably give you packets of ketchup, man, and blow that shit up.
Yeah.
Tales from the Quadead Zone. I'm gonna come in at a 2 out of 10. The music's a little bit better. It's a fucking train wreck, though. It really is. Like, there's just nothing that great about this at all. But the one cop that reads off the Miranda rights I actually thought was pretty decent, and even though he's reading them off a card, but I think that's actually what you do and stuff. But he was okay at points, even though he's in the film for like 35 seconds. He was okay. So there's the pluses. The artwork's awesome. 2 out of 10. I still recommend it, though, that you go out and check out these films. Even if you're not a shot on video film, just to say that you saw them. Be a part of history. You know what I'm saying?
I'm honestly, it might not seem like I would be, but I'm a sucker for shot on video. I like them a lot. I've never really saw one that I've like hated or was like fuck that.
I'm a really big fan of shot on video films, and there's a lot that I really, really fucking enjoy. Like, I mean, video violence didn't make my top 50 list for just the sake of having a shot on video film on there. It's because I truly, really love that movie, man. It's awesome. I think they put a lot of heart and soul into it, and that's the thing I do like about a lot of shot on video films, because when they're really legitimately trying to make they're trying to legitimately make a decent film just with, you know, shot on video equipment, and it turns out fun and stuff. Like, I give them all the props in the world for that, man. There's a lot of fun ones out there. I think people just can't get over the video quality. Like,
plus, like, the styles are time capsules of like the 90s, since most of them was made in the 90s. It's just funny.
Well, I mean, there was a ton made between 82 and I'm actually looking at my Analog Nightmares book right now, shot on video horror films. It's like the history, man. 82 to 95. There's like hundreds and hundreds.
I guess most of the ones I seen were from the 90s.
Yeah. I mean, there was a period actually beyond 95 to like 99. Like, I mean, I just reviewed one, the Green Elephant. Holy fuck. That was from 99. There was Rot that came out in 99, Marcus Koch's first film, the indie fucking effects artist and stuff. He's done fucking hundreds of films, man, but he actually directed that film, shot on video. It's fun. It's very fun. But yeah, actually this Analog Nightmares book is interesting, man. It really, the guy that wrote this book did a fucking fantastic job, did a lot of research in these films. Some of these movies are so obscure, and that's the other thing I love about shot on video films, is that a lot of them are so obscure, it's like you need to fucking find them. Right? Mm-hmm. I feel like with a lot of shot on film films, they seem to get out there. There's a little bit more, they're a little bit easier to find, but these shot on video films, there was such a niche market that they're so fucking rare, and just that you want to seek them out even more just because of that reason and stuff. And that's what I love about that time era. It is a capsule, and it's an interesting time in horror history, man. It's the video era, man. It's what it is. That's what it was all about. They were made for videos. It's awesome, man. But the other thing I was actually going to do for knowledge today was I had like this top 10 list of, I only found one top 10 list shot on videos. And, so I scrolled through it and stuff. And of course, every time I come across one of these lists or see someone's list or watch someone's videos and stuff, they always have movies in there that were shot on fucking 16 millimeter. Every fucking time, man.
Yeah, I've seen that happen too.
Like, I don't know how many lists I see with the Video Dead on there and fucking, Killing Spree and stuff, and there's a couple other ones that always make these lists that are those.
Oh shit! I actually thought Killing Spree was shot on video.
No, it actually isn't. It's shot on 60 millimeter, and there's a lot of movies that are shot on 60 millimeter, like really low quality 60 millimeter. That actually the quality of film is so bad it looks like video, but it's not. It's not. I think that one was transferred to tape, and then. I think what it was, Killing Spree was shot on 60 millimeter and then mastered on tape or something like that and distributed like that. So it kind of has that appeal of video, but it actually was shot on film. But it's crazy. Like, people still think that the video dead was, and I'm like, no, it's not shot on fucking video, man. But
definitely not.
No, it's definitely not. So
it's
it
on
drives me
fucking
nuts.
Blu-ray, dude.
Yeah, so I mean, you can put shot on video films on there. There's
I know,
not
but
a
it's like
problem.
a good Blu-ray transfer.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so like I looked at this list, and 2 of the 10 films were shot on fucking film, and I was like, for fuck's sakes, man, come on. Like, Jesus Christ. Do your homework if you're gonna fucking publish this shit, man. But anyways, that is going to conclude episode 176. I don't know what we're going to title this one because it's kind of a mashup of
Shot on Video Volume 2.
Volume 2. Just put Shot on Video Volume 2 Director Spotlight, Novell Turner, or Novell. What the fuck, man? You know what the fuck I'm talking about. I can't even think right now. I'm tired. Chester Novell Turner. Jesus Christ. I love that name, man. I keep thinking of Truck Turner, man. The fucking blaxploitation film. But, yeah, that's episode 176. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And that is it, man. Take us the fuck out of here, man.
All right. Thank you guys for listening. I'm JP. You can follow me on YouTube, Double Shot J. That's Mood616 on YouTube. Check out our Twitter, 22 Shots Podcast. Send us an email, 22shotsofmoodsandhorror@gmail.com. Join the Facebook group, Facebook/group/22 Shots Podcast. Check out my new show, His and Her Movie Podcast, Double HMP. And we'll see you guys next week with hopefully our decade show that we promised. So that should happen next week. And I'm JP. That's Moods. We're out.
Deuces.
I said, wake up, bitch! Wake up!